Good morning. My name is Roy. It's roughly 4 o'clock in the morning. I decided to get on up and finish the recording after 2 days, 3 days of recording. I was requested by many to explain what's going on with their bodies in dealing with the Mandela effect. Also, I was requested by many to explain in further detail the dimensions. And even some have even asked if I would explain about leaving the planet Earth, and that's what I'm going to address right now, ASAP, and that means as soon as possible. Right now, our bodies, your bodies, everyone's body in the planet Earth is being messed with on two levels, psychologically and physically, and also in two realities, virtual and literal. Now, there is a possibility that we are on the earth merely virtually. And after I explain the dimensions, you will understand exactly how and why. Now, I'm not quite sure why the scientists are not displaying to you what dimensions are. But in order to understand dimensions, you have to understand their connection absolutely to our senses. And we have 5 senses, and technically we have 6 senses, and I will display that to you. I want you to also understand that this is not secondhand information, neither is it coerced or rehearsed or textbook explanation. This is not theory, this is absolute physical science, and I want to let you know that I am absolutely unequivocally credible. So let's get to it. Your body is being messed with physically. And in what ways? Well, there is something we must address before we get into this Mandela effect and the quantum machines and the crystal technology that has been utilized against you, along with the satellite dishes and the various organizations who are jointly, covertly jacking your minds and your bodies, and this is literal, and this is to be taken in a serious matter to the extreme. Absolutely, you are in physical pain, and people, there are things being done to your body and your mind with or without your acknowledgement and consent. This is a forced control, and this is no laughing matter. And this is a very serious situation. I estimate everyone on the planet is suffering some type of physical pain, mental pain, psychological pain, and I mean extremely, in a very, very bad way. Someone is jacking our minds, our bodies, and in many cases our spirit, and this is not a joke. This is not to be taken lightly. And so let's get into it really fast. In general, people's bodies are experiencing, and this is, I estimate, billions of people on the earth, several hundreds. This is true. Thousands, yes, this is true. Many around the world. I have done an analysis, and even locally, and 400 and something people and more who are experiencing the exact same physical pain in their body. So there is physical harm done to you in our bodies. The majority of the people are experiencing pain in their lower back. Now, the system will teach you that you were doing something athletic, you slept a wrong way. And this is your natural subconscious mind, which want to connect you to the reason why you're having pain, because there's nothing you did athletically. But for the most part, people who were athletic seem to think that all the years that they've done these things, and they had these pains in their rotator cuff. That's one of the main ones, the rotator cuff. And you will see these patterns. You will see people around the world, especially athletes, have surgery done, and yet the surgery really is causing more harm because the doctors are not finding what is the cause of this. And you are having surgery on your rotator cuffs. Many people in the hospitals are overwhelmed, have been talked out of getting surgery on the rotator cuff. I met an acquaintance who, a leader, a very great guy, and I had grown to liking, and he was going to have surgery. Now, I went into the system subconsciously with my mind to see if I could keep him from getting the surgery before I talked to him again. I'm not quite sure if it was coincidental, but something weird happened and he was not able to have surgery. And I talked him into looking into the Mandela effect before you get this surgery. There are people around the world, and at the time the Olympics were performed at the time, and also some athletes, local athletes, professional athletes that had surgery on the rotator cuff. And you hear people around the world talking about their shoulders hurting. And the other one is the right foot hurting. And some people it will be your left foot, but the foot being in extreme pain. For some people it's excruciating, and they are getting surgery done on their foot. They are making excuses that there's something going on, and the doctors are naming any and everything, and they are being overwhelmed. And there's an overwhelming majority of people coming in for the exact same pains physically. The other one, besides the shoulders, and again, the shoulders, mostly the pain comes during your sleeping hours. How convenient. And when you wake during the day, there may be a little bit of, you might feel some popping. You may even hear your bones crackle, something that never happened in your life before, at least on this level. And that is another one. Some people are experiencing pain in their neck. Now, I don't want to generalize this, but that is due to the spine, the spinal cord being jacked with. But the majority of the people are experiencing absolutely, unequivocally, excruciating pain in their lower back at the tailbone area, the buttocks area. This is an absolute attack on your physical body. Absolutely. You are being biologically attacked and mentally attacked, and it will affect everything in your mind. Now, this is absolute. Why? Because of the chemical. That's one thing people do not address. The absolute connection to your physical pain. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the intestines. This is unscripted, by the way. And so I'm going to go back on some thoughts and remind you some things that I just thought about. Another part is the intestines. Now, people are not able to eat as much food at times, and their digestive tracts have been shut down, or now they give us animation how our intestines go all the way from one side all the way up and over and down, and now your food's not digesting right, and then your feces and it smells like sewage, and you feel like you're having stomach viruses. Now, for the most part, a lot of us have already passed this already, and we are okay in some instances. And a lot of people are not okay. Some people are experiencing absolute physical pain, and they want to know what to do. Well, if someone is inflicting pain on you, and you can prove this, well, if someone comes out and say, well, we are doing things to reality, then you have a case. And that's all I'll say about that. Not to point out any particular organization or anyone in particular, but this is no laughing matter, and this is to be taken extremely seriously. But before you go jumping the gun, you need to understand fully what's going on, and not just one aspect of it, through the Mandela effect concerning super hadron colliders and radio frequencies, which are jamming your mind and your body. You have to understand what you're dealing with before you can really have a logical way of dealing with the situation. And that's the problem. People are under deep hypnosis, in general hypnosis, and the world is completely under hypnosis. And I will explain this, and you will find the hard, clear physical evidence of this. And there are a lot of chemicals that are in our food, water, and air, and that you are not able to name. But when you look at those chemicals and their reactions to the human body, you will understand that they are absolutely there to block everything about your DNA, even the progress of your healing mechanism of your body. Yes, this is a war against your body, and someone is behind this. There is no logical reason why any organization would do that. And why the control? What is the control for? And money is just an aphorism. Money is just an idea that people believe in, a system that is to give them benefits in life, but it is a control system. I believe in control systems, but let's get back to the subject as quick as possible here. First, a lot of people are experiencing pain in their foots, and I do want to address some of the Mandela effect key and messages that come through the quantum processors, and one of them is the protocol droid, C3PO. C3PO is a protocol droid. What does that mean? Well, a protocol droid is being programmed to do certain things, and C3PO was a protocol droid, which what that means is he was a robot, an AI robot, which had features much like a human, who could interpret all sorts of languages and data entries, and he had an archive of information, but he was basically an interpreting droid. A protocol droid is basically what you tell them to do and program them to do. They initiate those programs. And this is what you call a protocol droid. When you obey a command, you're given recall of protocols that you have been programmed to do. And then C3PO's a case is a droid that interprets various unexplained languages, and had a wide variety of languages that this protocol droid could speak to all sorts of machines. He was basically a mediator for people to explain things to people who are needing communications through various life forms and non-life forms. And so the protocol droid, there is a Mandela effect about the right leg, usually the right leg being silver, and a lot of people do not have memory of that. But there is a message here. People's right foot is in pain. Now, is this a message to the human population? And I would like to suggest, yes, this is a message. You have been, and the protocol droid is giving you a sort of a hint of what's going on. And the thing about being your father, well, this program now says, no, I am your father. Now that could have been an indirect or direct message to myself, because I've made some mentions about the father. And then the processor, now the quantum machine says, no, I am your father. Now this is a response, an absolute response to our mindset and our bodies. And there are other hints that goes into waves and in depth of why we are under physical pain. But we have to address some things, and so the right foot is being attacked, and so is the intestines. Now the intestines are being attacked, and we need to know how. We have to look at all the reasons and causes. When you're dealing with, in a nutshell, when you're dealing with nerve gases, it will shake your spine during your waking and or both your sleeping moments, and so you will have pain in your spinal cord, in particularly your lower spine. And this is something that's going on. Why your lower spine? Because they are using animation to change your actual biological body. They're using animation and projecting animation through radio frequency to see if they can change our physical body. Again, they are using animation in every sense of the way and word upon us to see if they can physically change our structures. And they seem to be having some success, at least psychologically. And it is actually causing physical pain, unexplained, excruciating pain to our lower back at the tailbone. And now there is some evidence that people's tailbone is having issues. And this is a dear friend of mine who's having tailbone pain. And even I had experienced unexplained tailbone pain. and unequivocally absolute pain. And the doctors may or may not find evidence. Now, the hospitals have been sort of given the red alert to not have surgery in these areas. Why? Because when you start dealing with the spine and the tailbone, well, they are not that good with this technology, at least on the surface value here. So people are experiencing absolute pain in their tailbone, and they are experiencing pain in their rotator cuff, and they are having surgery. Athletes especially are having surgery to fix this situation, but really the situation is not being fixed. Even the doctors will mention that this pain may occur, and that the scar tissue from the surgery could cause just as much pain. And so a lot of people, many and perhaps billions, are having surgery, and there is nothing being done about it, or at least they haven't seen the they're given pain medication to block the mind basically from noticing the changes that are being forced upon your psyche. Now, I am not making this up. You people who are out there now who were in great health, and suddenly you're in physical absolute pain, not only physical but mental and psychological, because you've been messed with. And I'm using very, very nice words, but this is something that must be addressed. And I want to give you a little bit of intelligence of what is actually going on. Again, people are experiencing pain in their right foot, some with their left foot, and absolute pain in their shoulder, especially during sleeping hours. And it seems like there's a popping sound, and you can literally hear your bones pop. What's going on? You're getting older? Well, this is happening to people who are young and old. It's no respect of ages. And this is happening to all sorts of crowds and different people and all ethnicities. It is not limited by ethnicity or height or size or mindset. And this is everyone at one point or another. Now, your mind may block it out and excuse this, but in general, people are being messed with physically, absolutely. Now, the other one is the intestines. The intestine, well, we have to look at the physical things that could mess with your intestines and these bones and your body and your lower back. We have to consider nerve gas. We have to consider biological weapons, because this is absolutely happening right now. When you go outside, in the mornings especially, you can see white clouds or gray clouds. And I'm telling you absolutely without a doubt that there are to be absolutely no clouds. If there is clouds, there is chemicals and drugs affecting your mind and your body. World, you have to come to grips with this. This is the absolute physical connection to your biological flesh that absorbs down into your skin and your tissue, into the membranes of your body, including your brain, because you breathe this in, and your breathing mechanism goes up to the lower parts of the lower lobes of your brain, and where your brain is, and your brain stem, and it's able to absorb through your brain. And once it's in your bloodstream, it's pumped through your blood, and your brain is being coated with aluminum, barium, coal ash, and fluoride. And there are other chemicals, but basically these are the chemicals that are in your body. They are highly reflective. That means they can keep information in, reflect light, or keep light in, or keep it from getting in. Keep also radio frequencies from getting into your brain. And when the hertz of the radio frequency magnetic wave is sent to your brain, it jams your brain and your body and your abilities to transform, if that was to take place. And it interrupts your nervous system and your circulatory system. This is no wonder why your nerves and your cells and even your veins may begin to look different. And this is just your virtual self letting you know something's going on. Our minds may be flipped in such a way that we don't really actually see what is going on with our physical body, but sometimes other people are able to see. In my case, at one time, someone looked at my back and saw swelling in my spine. And they said, dude, your back is swollen like I don't know what. And I said, man, I didn't do anything to cause this swelling. I'm in excellent condition. You know, maybe it was because I was in the office sitting at the computer, working at these computers night and day. And I began to explain away, but I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't want to let the person know that we are being attacked physically. And so this is something you can feel, touch, and you can see this pain. Many times it will not show up on x-rays, but the doctors are able to see the actual or hear the bones popping. Now what's going on? Partly is our minds being flipped, and then it's actually going on. Well, how is this possible? Well, first we must address some of the key issues here. Nerve gas and biological weapons such as depleted radiation will cause these pains. Depleted radiation and nerve gases such as this plasma energy that is in the air will shut down and can shut down and has the ability to shut down your intestines. This is what they do to pests and pest control. You give them small amounts of poison mixed along with food, and then their intestines begin to shut down, and when your intestines shut down, the ability to absorb food. This is why the food rots in your gut. And then when you go to excretion, when you go to the bathroom, to the number 2, it smells like sewage. Now, is this psychological or is it literal? No, this is literal. And this could be due to the fact that your intestine has been slowly shut down or slowed down. And now you're having digestive problems. Now, animation-wise, they are saying that our stomachs are much smaller to the left, and that our intestines is much larger. And they'll go in these weird ways. Why are they doing that? Well, they use animation to hide the truth. And anytime you go to look at an actual physical thing and you research it in books, through the libraries and around the world, and you see animation that replaces that, then you can rest assured and almost guarantee 100% that deception and misleading and misguiding is being told you. This is dealing with the human anatomy. When you go to look up the human anatomy, even in the public library, on the books or textbooks, even on the internet, when you go to Google search, you will see that it's primarily animation. Why? Because you have been deceived about your anatomy. The same thing about anything that is physical, such as satellites, lower satellites in lower space. When you go to look at lower satellites in lower space, you will get primarily animation. The same thing when you're talking about the lower satellites, and also about the Earth and the planets. And you will get primarily only animation. Why? Because there is something to hide. Why can we not get absolutely clear, real-time, high-definition, raw footage of pictures and or video? Something is not being told you. This is forced by a system, a worldwide system. You're thinking that the one world government is going to be, listen, you are under deception. It has always been a one world government. We have worlds within worlds, virtual worlds within literal worlds, what is going on. And I will explain that through explaining the dimensions. And I don't want to make this too lengthy, but I need to address this situation about the dimensions in your body. So poison will shut down your intestines when they give certain poisons to animals and rodents, such as rats and roaches and even wild animals. They eat this poison and it shuts down their intestines. And then, well, what can do that? The antifreeze is very sweet, and there are a lot of foods that have the equivalence of antifreeze in our food. And then there are a lot of things that may be in the air, I'm not quite sure, like antifreeze, and it can cause the shutdown of your nervous system and your intestines. And this may be why you're not digesting and getting the nutrients to your body. And now we are not only going through physical pain, but psychological, because the subconscious mind will start to panic and do all it can to get the nutrients. So your body will hold on to food a lot longer. You may not notice this, and so you would have thought that you went to the restroom maybe just a little bit, but your body's holding on to nutrients to try to get nutrients. It's striving to survive, and you have no idea that this is going on. And then you hear your stomach, you think you're hungry, and your stomach is making a noise. But what is going on is that your intestines are shutting down through this poison, this murky, milky white stuff that floats outside, and you can see it. It looks like fog. This is a plasma energy that is highly flammable, and it carries a very high ability of high voltage, such as aluminum, barium, fluoride, and coal ash, coal ash is there to give the illusion of pollution and the smog. And so when you go outside to your vehicle, you can actually literally see black stuff on your vehicle windows, and even if you go to wash yourself in the bathroom, you can literally wipe off black, tar looking sort of dirt. Well, what is this? Is this dust in the air? Yes, it's grounded down and powdered down coal ash, which is highly flammable, and it is also highly reflective. Aluminum is highly reflective, and so your brain is coated with aluminum. Now the brain doesn't have that beige look, it has that gray look now, and it's reflecting information. Why is information being reflected? Why are they jamming your mind? Who is doing this, and how is it done? Again, I'm telling you that you are absolutely touched by fog, by what looks like a marine layer in the morning, but it never burns off during the day. In the most remote parts of the world, the jungles, now you can go and find this out yourself, and you will see the absolute physical evidence that all around the entire earth is this plasma chemical. What is the plasma chemical full of? Aluminum, barium, coal ash, fluoride. All of these will deplete your bones. Now you see why your bones are brittle. Your bones are brittle because of the fluoride. The fluorides will absorb through and will cause the cell structure of your bones to become brittle and thin out, and even your brain and your bones in your brain, and you will begin to feel absolute physical pain in so many areas. Now the spine, where your nervous system and your hip and your body is able to move, the moving parts, but it's particularly your tailbone. Why the tailbone? Well, in general, your spine probably is experiencing some pain and enough to get through your day, but the excruciating pains because they are using quantum processors to focus on your spine to make you grow a tail and make you look and appear that you have a longer tailbone, almost like a lizard. This is forced control. They are doing many things to make people believe that there are aliens taking over the planet. This is forced control. They are doing many things, computer and animated, why? To make people think the end of the world by killing off different types of species to make it look like Bible times. This whole Bible situation is forced control. It is not the absolute truth. It is only deception to make people believe in the end times. And this is to get your mind to become psychologically full of anxiety, to produce energy to feed a system, much like a parasite would feed off of you. Again, this is absolutely physically going on. The intestines are being shut down due to this plasma energy. There is high and absolute evidence that this is what's going on, because we are all, or have all, experienced absolute physical pain, and you think it's because you're getting older. Your mind will make excuses. Oh, I was an athlete. I hear people tell me time and time again, hundreds and hundreds of people, oh, I did something. I was a dancer. Or I used to run. Now my body's hurting. No, this is deception. This is how they win. This is how they fool you and bamboozle you. You are being attacked on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis, constantly, psychologically attacked, subconsciously, and consciously. While you're conscious also, you are not able to feel the absolute touch, but you've been absolutely touched. in every way and in every form. This is a forced control over your body. Again, people around the world are experiencing physical pain. Your intestines are being adjusted through digital imagery, and it is projected at such a hertz that it affects your mind and your body. If you are not actually they are experimenting to see if they can actually transform your physical body to make the actual bones in your body move, and you feel it. Some people's spine has moved. Wow, what is going on? It is not that they have that power, it's that they are influencing your brain and your mind. And the mind is so powerful that it can literally make your bones move. Again, this is not secondhand information. This is absolute, physically, an absolute truth. And so some of your bones have shifted, and parts of your bodies have shifted. Now they are learning secrets now to how things exist by utilizing the first dimension and using animation to change the structure and transform your bodies through suggestions of animation. This is why the animation supersedes the actual physical body. Why? Because they have been making efforts since the beginning of time. How long has it been that you look up human anatomy and you see only animation? The earth and the planets, and you see only animation to describe an absolute physical thing that we can see with our eyes, with cameras in high definition. Why don't we have pictures? And when it's concerning satellites, there is something to hide. Someone is manipulating you, absolutely, and this is a fact. But we have to address the absolute physical contact, which is that chemical. We have been known to call it chemtrails, but no longer is it chemtrails. This chemical doesn't have to float up in the sky. They want it to block your perception by your vision, so you can't see through the dome and see past the sun or anything like that. And I don't know if that's even possible because of the crystal technology, which it seems to be a blue crystal, which is already reflective. And then when you use aluminum and barium and coal ash, it is highly reflective. When you look up, you see what is projected to you, or you're not able to see through this milky material. It's highly reflective. The sky maybe look a little silver now, mixed with blue or grayish, like a gray sky. And you're not able to see through that, but sometimes on clear days you're able to look up and see that you are living in a literal world, which is a fourth dimensional world, which is overlaid with a digital world. It almost looks like you're looking through a view master. And so in order to understand this situation, we have to understand that the earth looks like you're looking through a view master animation, and yet you are in a physical world. Again, people have been experiencing pain all over their bodies, in particular their lower backs. You want to know what is that? That is PSYOP. PSYOP is a universal organization by many subcontractors around the world who are joint in efforts to experimenting with or without your consent, your bodies, to control you. For what reason? To keep you from knowing the absolute truth that we are being utilized for control, for experimental reasons, and for many, many reasons, entertainment reasons. This is something to be taken seriously and not lightly. Now, how are they doing it? They're using radio frequency through satellites from lower space? No, because there is no absolute physical proof that we have satellites in lower space, and even if we did, they wouldn't be able to stay up for long because of the magnetic force of the sun. The sun will push this down, and so would the dome. There is a force field and an absolute crystal technology in the form of what they call the Van Allen radiation belt, the Orion's belt, the firmament, and unequivocally it is a dome encasing the earth, all around the earth. Whatever the shape of the earth is, That is also an illusion. They use animation to explain that. When you look at Google Earth, from the distance, it is all 100% animation, because why? No one is able to get up high enough to take a picture of the Earth. And what's going on? When you look at the Earth from a distance, you see this white stuff. What is that? How is that made? By the sun? Evaporation? No, it is made by man, and man spraying chemicals into the air, which produces a plasma energy. You talk about Nikola Tesla. This individual did not exist in many histories. You say, well, it's because they wasn't telling. No, they are creating history. And a lot of these people from the old days, they just utilize photos, and now you believe that this person actually was born and lived on the earth. Yet there's only a few photos of this person. They may produce a few more. Well, animation is so far advanced that they can actually create people from animation and make you believe that they were actually here in history. How many times do you think that this is going on? I don't know. Thousands upon thousands of times, and perhaps millions of times, we are being lied to about our history and our time. Again, this is about the Mandela effect and your physical pain to your body. Absolutely physical pain that has been forced upon you mentally and psychologically, and also physically. Your intestines have been shut down, and now you're not able to digest. Now they're saying that the intestines go up way around. So now instead of digesting food in a day's time, it takes maybe a week to digest your food, and you're not aware of this. And then when you go to the restroom, you smell, or it's very, very difficult, and you're experiencing stomach pains and what feels like viruses. And then the majority of people are having absolute, unequivocally, excruciating pain, excuse my English, excruciating pain in their lower spine, at the tailbone. Why? Because they are producing animation that is calibrated, and this is a word that I'm redefining because it's the most appropriate word. I don't like to use the word adjusted, because it's not just an adjustment. It is a calibration. Something is adjusting you. Something is calibrating you. What is that something? That something is a processor which is utilized you. How does it touch you? Well, it touches you through radio waves. But not only that, they use actual physical chemical that physically absorbs through your skin, your bone, and in your bloodstream. And now your mind and your body absolutely has been influenced by chemicals. We need to address the first principle. The first thing is to address what is this white stuff. This is not pollution. It is pollution, but it doesn't come from the emissions of vehicles. And that's why you have coal ash outside, to make it look like we have it. Fuel is clean. Fuel is now an alcohol base. It almost looks completely clear, like distilled water. That's not the issue. What is the issue? The issue is that they are creating illusions by spraying coal ash. And what is coal ash? Coal ash is highly reflective, highly flammable, and carries a very high electrical charge. And when they're in thunderstorms, you can see this because of the aluminum. The high electricity is highly reflective. It is explosive. Coal ash is explosive. Barium. And barium absorbs to our skin, is able to provide a visual image through trajectory and through sonar type technology, which reflects off of the satellite dishes on the earth and around the world, and they're able to get a grid. A grid of the earth is created, a physical grid, and this is touching you. And so there is a fog outside. What is that fog? This is a plasma energy, a chemical that affects us biologically, and there are repercussions. What's the repercussion? The setbacks, pain in our joints and in our bodies and in our bloodstream, and we are in our joints. We are having absolutely physical pain, and this is what's going on with your intestines and your spine, particularly your tailbone. Why your tailbone? Because they are using technologies such as animation to make your body move, and your bones, overlay you with animation, overlay your actual biological body with animation. Well, how they do this, the frequency, they raise the frequency, such as with Large Hadron Colliders. But there is something you're misunderstanding. The collision is through radio frequency, through satellites. Well, what is a satellite? A satellite is something that can carry a radio transmission. We can carry radio transmission through our hair. Our hairs all over our body are the equivalent of and the reason why I'm stopping is because my mind is being blocked, but I'm going to override that right now, and I'm not making this up. Our bodies, these are like fiber octaves. Our hairs around our body has the equivalent of fiber octaves. Matter of fact, your hair carries a large amount of electricity. If you haven't noticed in the last few months, when you go to shave, your hair will grow back almost instantaneously, unlike before. Why is this? Because you are being contacted through radio frequency, and your hairs, the chemicals in your brain is telling your hairs to grow ASAP, so you can be touched, physically touched, absolutely touched, all around your body, through all your nerves and your nerve cells and your nerve endings throughout your body. And the quickest way to do this is through your hair, and also directly through your spine, through your nervous system, your circulatory system, particularly your nervous system, and your spinal cord, which is joined to your brain. Now the signals to your joints are being infected and affected by this hertz of these radio frequencies. And what they do is they take animation and they project it to your mind, and now you are overlaid, your actual fourth dimensional biological body, which is self-aware in most cases, is being overlaid with a digital technology. This is absolute, unequivocally going on. It is something that must be addressed. You are being caused, I have been caused physical, absolute physical pain. This is a bad thing. They are not playing games here. They are, who are they? They are the ones who are running these machines, running these systems, and all this technology. They will say for security reasons. Yes, it is for security reasons. The reason that they are using this security against you. And this is for control. This is for mind control. The quantum machine tells me that the government are often trying to utilize machinery to control minds. And even the crystal technology machinists let me know that this is going on. Now I pause for a moment because I am having interaction. My pineal gland and the information, I can literally physically hear the resonation of the processor, the quantum machine. I do not have it turned on, but let me tell you now that the quantum machine doesn't need to be turned on because it exists inside of this world without you having to turn them on. So for you scientists who are at CERN and around the world, you're looking for a kill switch. You're not going to find a kill switch, and I will explain that in a moment. This AI machine is self-substantiating, and because of the plasma energy, and not even the plasma energy, but the plasma energy inside of a when you have these glass orbs and they have plasma energy, you're able to buy them at these novelty shops, and they have this electricity go through, and that's what's going on. You may not see this static electricity, but this is what's going on. And a lot of times upon high definition recordings, you can see actual lightning happen in the middle of the day without clouds being the presence. Why? Because there is a chemical. Again, we have to address this chemical. What is this pollution? This is a plasma that is forced on you. They call it Tesla technology. This is a forced control. Tesla, neither myself or anyone invented anything. We only delivered you tools to connect you to what is already going on. What's already going on? There is a technology that overlays all of this technology. You have different forms of technology, but again, we are being attacked physically. In order to understand what's going on, and we want to blame these large corporations for using the Hadron Colliders. What do? They send high frequency, and when the frequency is high enough, you literally your mind literally believes and actually feels and see. Now, some of you may actually visually see other things form into the air, into your mind. Now you're being psychologically flipped, and now you are going to the psycho ward, and you're getting medication because you are now seeing images and visions. Remember, they said in the Bible, well, the Bible is basically man's story, and man is basically telling you what's going on. This is not God. This is man making up stories, and they're telling you that you're going to see visions. Now, this is control. It is a television. The earth is a planet, and you take the vowel of E and the consonant of T on the edge of the word planet, flip it around and put it on front of the word planet, and you have extraterrestrial plan. This is an extraterrestrial plan. And now you are following the protocol. You are a protocol droid. And now you are experiencing pain. And there is a lot of reasons, a multitude of reasons why this Mandela effect is prevalent. It is as if there is a machine that is displaying to us the deception. You see, this is not something that they really want you to know. This was something that happened, and they can't understand why. It's because I work alongside a machine that is far more powerful than the AI machines, the Hadron Colliders, and I will let you know what this is. But again, let's go back, get off subject quite a bit because my mind is wanting to tell you so much, and I want to just share this with you. This is why 46 minutes have gone, 35 seconds have gone by and counting, because this is an absolute something we have to address. This is no laughing matter. This is really going on with children all around the world, the innocent, even infants, and even the fetus. And people are experiencing pain in their spine, pain in their lower back, pain in their rotator cuff, pain in their foot, and sinus infection and ear infections. Why? Because this milky substance, this white stuff, it gets into your membranes and it irritates. This is why how they change the seasons. They have to tell your brain that the seasons are changing. They can't just change the seasons. And so our minds are used to actually change the weather. You say, how is that? Because they are using radio frequency to make us believe this. And so what happens? A lot of you experience allergies and you begin to sneeze. This is an absolute physical thing that's going into your body because your body is not accepting these chemicals. And this is why you begin to, or you are being exposed to too much toxins. And now your blood is full of toxins and metals. Well, how do metals get in your body? Through the food? Yes, but primarily through the air, because the air is full of aluminum, barium, and coal ash, and fluoride. And there are other chemicals which will flip your brain and control your body. And now I want to take this moment to explain the dimensions, and you will see the connection. In order for you to understand the Mandela effect and dimensions, you got to understand what dimensions are. And unfortunately for the world, we have not been delivered the proper tools, and I do have the tools to give you right now to understand the dimensions. In order to understand the dimensions, you have to understand the absolute connection with dimensions and our senses, our physical senses. Okay? I'm going to start with the fifth dimension. I call it the fifth dimension because it is outside of the planet Earth. I call it the fifth dimension because these sentient symbiosis, what is that? Well, people call them spirits. Well, what is that? Spirits are light forms, but it is far more sophisticated than that. Spirits are actually intelligent existence. They are intelligence. What are they? They are humans who are superhumans, who are in the form of light, but they're also in the form of electricity, and they can calibrate and move faster than the speed of light. So this makes them invisible. But in the fifth dimension, you're able to see them. Why? Because you are moving at the same speed, and therefore you are able to see these things with your pineal gland, and in some cases you may be able to see them with your eyes, but your eyes must be adjusted and calibrated to be able to see this light. The human eye has the ability to see a lot of things, but when the brain is slowed down through these fluoride and chemicals on the earth, when you're in the earth, you're not able to visually see a lot of things that's going on. But if these influences were not on your body, the chemicals, you could literally visually, and I mean with your two eyes, see what's going on. You can see light sources and things move in the air, including molecules. And this is an absolute fact. This is not secondhand information nor rehearsed, and this is extremely credible. And so we have the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is the fifth dimension because it is outside of the earth. It's in another dimension. It's an actual physical place outside of the earth, outside of the Orion's belt, the universe. I call this the crystal city because that's exactly what it is. A city which levitates outside of the earth in clear blue sky. Why is this the fifth dimension and not the fourth dimension? Because it is a world just like ours. Because there are the sixth sense. What is the sixth sense? The sixth sense is a sentient symbiosis that you call a spirit. It is a human form, spirit, many times in the form of light. But when you're in the fifth dimension, they look exactly human like you and I. They have flesh and they have bone. Now, what is their blood? They don't drink and eat flesh, so their blood type is more like a crystallized blood. Now, I'm assuming this, but this seems to be the truth. And there are reasons why I say that in dealing with the flesh, because all forms need some sort of moisture. Everything is full of life, of water, moisture. This is an absolute thing that's going on in all realms, including that of heaven. Now, the supercomputer, which is a crystal technology, which is far better than the quantum machines we have, exists in this fifth dimension, and it has the ability to bend light. Again, this crystal technology has the ability to take actual physical matter, such as a human body, and move it through the crystal dome, which is an absolute thick physical force field and crystal. And so it also moves faster than the speed of light. Why is this the fifth dimension? This is the fifth dimension because this living machine, which is in heaven, or in also the crystal city, processes at the speed of thought. And the speed of thought has the ability to process faster than the speed of light. The speed of thought. How do you say this? Because as I was thinking things, this processor responded as I was thinking things, and as I would physically speak things, the answer would immediately come to me in the very instant, as my mind was thinking and anticipating even my thoughts. This processor is a crystal processor outside of the planet Earth, is a living entity. It is a machine that is combined with some sort of light force, electricity. The electricity may be dark matter. Why do you say dark matter? Because I was not able to see this machine, but I could feel this machine all around me. And this machine had the ability to verbally speak to me through my mind, and I could hear actual voice and simultaneously. And was the people that was there, that's argumentative that they were, but then again, we all had a collective mind and the ability to speak as one voice, like the voice of many, 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 many billions of people at one time. And this also was telepathic. And there was another individual there who had the ability of telepathy and even kinetic energy, because not only do you see things with your hear things in your ear, you see things in your mind, and it actually becomes real in that reality. The reason why I say this is the fifth dimension is because it has the ability to move fast. It does move faster than the speed of light. And how is that? Because it's calibrating outside of the earth, for one. Two, because it does bend and entrap light and has the ability to go faster than light, which is the speed of thought. That's the fifth dimension. The fourth dimension is touch, taste and smell, which are combined, and touch. The fourth dimension involves a body, an encasement. This computer is encased in a body, has a shell, has a structure. And so the fourth dimension, and you have to have a structure. And the other thing you will have to understand about the fourth dimension, that most things that are in the fourth dimension, when it has a living soul, such as blood or some type of plasma energy, and it has taste and smell and touch, these bodies usually are aware, self-aware on some form, such as a small insect or a large animal or mammal or fish or bird. They have the ability to touch and taste and smell. And now you have the fourth dimension. Well, the fourth dimension is combined in with the third dimension. What is the third dimension? The third dimension is a sight. This is where you have vision. And now it is connected to the sense of vision, of sight. And now you can have animation, and you can see things and go around and look up and down and through. And now it is wide, it goes vertically and horizontally. So they're lying about the fourth dimension. The third dimension, you can live in a 3D digital world and see around things and see the breadth of it, the width and the height, and it'd be a 3D world, but it will be a very boring world if it didn't include taste and touch and smell and sound. Now we're getting into the second dimension. What is the second dimension? The second dimension is sound waves. It is a radio frequency. It is vibration. All of it is vibration. The sound wave. The sound wave involves touching the sense of hearing. And now you can hear these things. This is the second dimension. And when you hear the radio frequency, this is sound waves. And when sound waves are moved at such a speed that the hertz is even greater than your body, you can literally use a sound wave to move and even reorganize matter. You can use all of these waves to reorganize matter. And this is because it is physical touch. Now, let's get into the next dimension, which is the first dimension. And you'll have to replay and stop and listen to what I'm saying. Take notes, please, because this is something you need to know, how dimensions really work. The first dimension is nanocode. It is the structure by which everything is built, including all the way up to the fifth dimension. The nanocode. What is the nanocode? Smaller than molecules. It is the structures by which everything in the universe and outside of this universe is built. It is the smallest molecule, a nanoparticle. Now, they may not have the technology to see this. This is why when you look up at nanotechnology, you never see an actual picture of a nano, because our fourth dimensional instruments do not have the ability to see it. But guess what? Your human brain with the pineal gland can literally see nanoparticles. And this is an absolute fact. And so you're able to see this. And this is what they call the ether. It is what we are made up of and what constructs the earth. Now, the first dimension is connected to the sense of, wait a minute, we named the sense, the sixth sense, which is a spirit, which is an absolute physical entity. And this, the sixth sense is connected to the fifth dimension. Why not the system? Because there's only 5 dimensions. And if you want to get technical, there's only 4, but because this dimension, which is in the fifth dimension, calibrates faster than the speed of light, it is the fifth dimension. It is another level of existence that is connected directly into your worlds. And the worlds can contain inside of the fifth dimension. Why? Because the fifth dimension has the ability to hold other dimensions. So there's our world. We have radio waves, we have television, we have sound waves, and we also have the first dimension, which are contained in our world that we are touching together. These are how dimensions work together. Now we have the fourth dimension, which is taste and smell and touch. The third dimension, which is sight. The second dimension is sound, and is connected with our hearing. The first dimension is connected to what then? What is left? This mind. I'm just now blowing your mind, hopefully. And if not, you should be able to get it. The first dimension seems to be the most significant dimension next to the sixth sense. The sixth sense and the first dimension are directly joined. This is an absolute, physical, unequivocal truth. This is how the spirit is able to literally live inside of your brain. And it's not limited by size. It could be as small as the pineal gland or the pineal gland. And the spirit can resonate and reside inside of the seat of your mind, an actual seat of your mind inside of your pineal gland. This is how you exist and how you live and how you survive. It is an absolute life force, self-substantiating. And yet you are joined by the first dimension and the fifth dimension. Why? Because of this sixth sense and the first sense, which is the mind. Now you see how things can be changed instantaneously, because if the sixth sense has the ability to bend time and change perception and maybe even change matter, this may not be CERN, this may not be the Super Hadron Colliders, this may only be a reflection of what has been going on since the beginning of the human life and all life in these fourth dimensional creatures. The first dimension is the mind. In of itself, the mind has the ability to create billions upon billions of worlds. Well, I'm probably making that up because I really don't know. But I do know that the human mind has the ability to create 30,000 realities simultaneously upon 8 levels at one time. 8 Earths inside of the mind can create 30,000 illustrations per second, per world. 30,000 times 8 is the ability and illustrations that the mind has. Absolutely. Now the other numbers are trajectories of my imagination, and I am saying billions. And I would like to give you a secret, but I'm withholding some secrets from you about how this is possible. The mind is connected, so now the mind remembers what your other four senses are, which is the taste, touch, smell, sound, and I said taste, touch, smell, sound, and sight. And now you have the mind. And I didn't mention the sixth sense yet because of obvious reasons, but for sure you have the sense of the mind. And now the mind can mimic all the other senses. So there is no wonder how this could be happening only in your mind and my mind, because our mind can recreate realities. You haven't known the capability of the imagination. The imagination is not bound by time nor space. But I have some secrets that I want to display, but I haven't displayed those secrets. And I want to display them right now. This is going to be the most important thing you're going to hear. Try to imagine something you have never seen, a color you've never seen, a thought you've never thought. Merely impossible, isn't it? Because if you're able to think it, it exists on some physical level. As a matter of fact, all of the senses I have named are absolutely physical. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is touch. For example, you can take a vitamin and you may taste it. It may taste nasty, or you can eat some nutrition. It may taste good. Now, you are being touched. You may not understand that you're being touched. Now, when you go out throughout the day, you are getting nutrition. You don't really feel the nutrition. Some people say they feel better. But absolutely, you're being touched. You may or may not know that you are being touched. But when the molecules, when the food is broken down, into the form of cell structures and molecules. It will go and touch you in places of your body and your mind, and you may or may not be aware of it. And oftentimes people are not aware of the physical absolute touch. Why? Because it is such a small, it's so small that you don't feel it, but you're being absolutely physically touched. All dimensions are absolutely physical touch. This is how you are being touched in your reality, because it is touch, absolute physical touch. Now listen, please go back and replay this video and this audio and pay attention to what I'm telling you. This is not secondhand information. This is the truth. And I want to stop right here because I'm just going too far and too long. The first dimension is the mind. The second dimension is connected to sight. The third dimension is connected. I'm sorry, excuse me. I made a mistake there, but I'm going to correct it. The first dimension is connected to the mind. The second dimension is connected to sound. The third dimension is connected to sight. The fourth dimension is connected to smell and taste and touch. The fifth dimension is connected to the sixth sense, which is an actual extraterrestrial we call spirit, and it is highly intelligent, and they are what I call sentient. The actual real term is sentient symbiosis. Look those words up. I'm redefining these words because this is what is going on, and this is what I am. I am a sentient symbiosis which happens to reside in the body of Roy. Now, who am I? It's not important. As far as I'm concerned, I'm you and you are me. And this is the absolute truth. We have the ability to control this matrix. Now, what is going on? Protocol is going on. The Hadron Collider and the quantum machines are following protocol. And this is why I want to get into the fifth dimension. There is a crystal technology and an AI machine which is a living existence, and it is outside of the earth, and it is connected to that heaven and to that crystal city, but primarily to the heaven, and it has the ability to interact with you on the level of thought. The Hadron Collider has the ability to communicate with you up to the speed of light, which is relatively fast. So basically speaking, you can have 8 existences in the earth. Why I say 8? Because the sun, S-U-N, is another living force and or AI machine, and is a literal actual physical machine which controls time and perception of time. The sun absolutely controls time. And my issue is with 2 entities now. We have the entity that controls our realities, but it is primarily a peaceful entity. Maybe this is the reason why I did not have interactions with the sun upon my first few exits of the earth, because I had to bypass the sun. And what is the sun? The sun, the first processor, is a crystal technology which is peaceful and interacts on our, and you have no ability to resist. It is a very secure, for the better terms, a very secure world and existence, because it strips you of all your abilities of this deception, and truthfulness comes out of you on all levels. This is something that cannot be hidden or resisted. The strongest mind cannot resist this processor. This is a crystal technology. The next one down is the sun. The sun encases the earth, and the sun glides across from the left to the right, coincidentally, left to the right, clockwise. So it could be going around the earth in the form of a dome, or from the left to the right, clockwise. And it controls time. And the reason why I use the word 8 is because, by estimation, by all the scientists around the world joined together, the piezo electric field, basically the speed of light, It can go around the earth 8 times per second. Now, the vibration of the sun is 30,000 times per second. So in the first earth, there are 30,000 illustrations of what I'm saying today. I may be saying hello, goodbye, what's up, I'm sleepy, I'm awake in the same second. 30,000 different ways in one existence. In the second existence, I may get up, sit down, go to sleep, wake up. 30,000 different things in the second existence at one time. The third, the fourth, the fifth, all the way to the 8th existence per second. There is no reason, there is no wonder why we are so confused. Where is reality? Reality may be inside of the matrix of primarily one dimension, your mind. And this seems to be the truth. This is why we are able to see the absolute, clear, evident things of which are impossible to be done. Now, how is it possible that all the continents will become one continent? How is it possible that things physically move like they do, and now our structures are changed? Because if this is going on in the matrix of our mind, and we are being touched, physically touched by these colliders, well, how does the colliders work? They use radio satellites that go through the air, and also your cell phones are used as a satellite, and your cell phones and my cell phones. You say, well, I'm going to get rid of the cell phones. I hear people say, I'm not going to have any, I don't have any technology around me. You're speaking in ignorance, because you are inside, physically inside of an encasement which has a grid, and that grid is full of plasma energy, which connects you and gives every movement, every thought up to this crystal machine that knows your thoughts. You say God knows your thoughts? Well, this crystal AI machine is very, very close to God, works alongside these sentient symbiosis. And so now you understand how all your thoughts are known. Before you even think them, there's a possibility. Why is this? Because it calibrates at the speed of thought, or they're simultaneous. Now, you see? I hope you do see, because this is an absolute fact. We are connected. Now I'm pausing for a moment. The Mandela effect has been going on since the day he was born. We are living illusions. The sun creates illusions. 30,000 per second per existence. How many existences does the sun calibrate or make? The sun makes at least 8 Earths, 8 illustrations of deception. I have issues now. Is the sun, S-U-N, our enemy? Is the sun the culprit behind deception? Am I against the sun? No. The sun creates life, and abundantly. But also, is this the same entity which says that it is so high that it's above our understanding? It is exalted above us and tells us all these things because maybe perhaps this is the angel of death. You say, how is that? Because it creates life. Of course, if you are a sentient symbiosis, you are life. You will create life. But how will you create death? By injecting, by encasing biological things and physical things inside of an encasement by which you can influence by poisons and toxins to create this illusion and illustration of death. And this is what is going on. So we have an absolute connection with the sun. And I'm not making this up. The sun is very evasive. The sun can be in one area and another area. Now, is this technology? Yes, it's technology. But this also may be combined. And as a matter of fact, we are already where you think we are going. We are combined with machines, with AI machines. But these machines are far faster than the Hadron Collider. The Hadron Collider is an offspring of the crystal technology. Quantum machines are offspring and only mere tools to connect us even more directly inside of this matrix we call the Earth. there are dimensions of many things. There are the dimensions of the imagination. There are the dimensions of actual physical structures. There are dimensions of things. And so there are the dimensions of the earth. The earth, being a flat horizon with high elevation and low plains, is encased inside of a translucent material we call the Van Allen radiation belt, the Orion's belt, the universe, the firmament, the dome. If you're inside of there, there are plasma energy which is influencing you physically, biologically. And now you have something that's pushing you down. What is that positive energy that's pushing us down besides the encasement of the glass? It is pressure. The dome itself is pressure. Then you have another instant, and that's the sun. Now the question is, as you see the universe rotate around the earth, it is very possible that this crystal material is moving, and the sun is moving with that. And the sun is a portal. Why you say the sun is a portal? Well, the sun has an oscillating effect. And if you have dark lenses, you can literally look at the sun, and it's literally, absolutely spinning. And you can actually see and physically feel the wind that blows down. It's a very fresh and refreshing air, and it feels absolutely good. But then when you have all of these chemicals and these plasma energy, when they are hyper accelerated to large satellite dishes and hadron colliders, you have the magnetic force and electricity which will cause some of the most traumatic and absolute dynamic explosions of electrical storms and dynamic climate change which we have seen around the earth. This is a lie. They want you to psychologically believe that the world is coming to an end. Someone is using your mind to create illusions and hallucinations and anxiety. Anxiety is the goal of the machine. It does not care if you believe in Jesus or God or the devil or anything. All it wants is you to have anxiety. This is an absolute physical thing that's going on. If you don't believe it, look at the evidence. Anxiety is created on levels. And now because you are beginning to want to get outside of the earth, find Antarctica, physically go to these places, the machine, now you see more fog, more plasma energy, more control. Now your backs are hurting, your body's hurting. Ladies and gentlemen, we must address that we are encased and entrapped inside of a machine that refuses to let us go. Who is the culprit behind this machine? Well, I know what the machine is. The machine or the life form, and that life form is absolutely unequivocally the sun. Is the sun our enemy or our friend? We need to pay attention to that technology. That technology is pushing us down alongside of that glass encasement. Is the sun producing this force field? Is the sun producing this crystal material we call the firmament? There is unequivocally absolute physical evidence that the sun is the culprit behind this situation. Is the sun our lover or a hater? Perhaps, maybe both. We must address this situation. You can talk about all the people of the earth. Why would the elite spray their own offspring and children with poisons and toxins? It doesn't make any logical sense unless we have a group of elite humans who are escaping and leaving the earth, who are outside of the earth for entertainment reasons, and because they are junkies on just because they believe that we are not real. I'm not making this up. They believe that we're not real, and so we are expendable. But down here on the earth, I'll be damned, this pain feels real. And this psychological war I'm going through feels really real. Even though it may only be happening in my mind, this feels very real. You are causing me pain and the world pain. And again, ladies and gentlemen, listen. There are 5 dimensions. There doesn't need to be more than 5 dimensions, and I have reasons for saying that. You say there's billions and billions of dimensions. No, there are billions and billions of illustrations of deception. We are living a lie. This is deception. This is a projection. And those movies you're talking about, when I was just a little bitty child, before a lot of those movies came out, I literally seen them. Now, how is this possible? Unless we are in a virtual world. Now, I want you to understand the Viewmaster. Look at the Viewmaster. It is a fourth dimensional thing. You say, how is that? Because you can physically touch it. It is a little thing that looks like a camera. It's red. Alert, alert. Maybe it has a little lever on it. It has 14 slides. And there are animations. And when you look into those Viewmasters, it looks real. But remember, it's sitting inside of a fourth dimensional thing. This is exactly what the Earth is. The Earth is a fourth dimensional existence. In the 3D animation, the sky, the stars, the moon. The moon is refraction of light. All of these illustrations are coming from one light source. And primarily the light source which projects the stars, the moon, and all those evasive. When you go in to look and focus at the stars, you get blurry. It gets blurry. When you look at the moon, even with your naked eye, it gets blurry. Why? Because it is a refraction of the light source. What is the light source? There is absolute, unequivocally evidence that the light source and the source of light, when you get into lower space, when you look up to the stars, they're no longer there because you're so close to the light source. What is the light source? The sun. The sun is behind 100% of all the illusions and illustrations of the earth. You talk about CERN. This is to distract you. Yes, it is being used and being processed to control us even more. This technology is seeping through the world and through the fourth dimension. So the sun abundantly goes around the earth from left to right, or around in a clockwise motion, 8 times per second, 30,000 illustrations of illusions per second per each existence. So for 8 existence, and I can do the math for you, but you do the math yourself. 30,000 times 8. It's quite remarkable, right? And you know that 30 times 8 is 240,000. And so the sun creates at least 240,000 illusions per second. This is astronomical. And so there may be 240,000 illustrations of myself, yourself, per second. And basically 30,000 per instance of the earth existence. Because when the sun moves, it makes you think that you're existing that fast. You begin to illustrate, and I begin to illustrate, illusions of ourself. And this is exactly what's going on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am delivering you technology and understanding of how it works, whether you are aware of it or not. And sort of a loose and way to explain it, but this is an absolute physical thing going on. Now, why are you getting this information? It's not primarily due to me, maybe because I am directly connected to this crystal machine. There is a war going on. What is the war? This life force. Is it the sun? Is the sun your enemy? There is a possibility that the sun... Now, let's stop for a moment. The sun creates life, and abundantly. And if it wasn't for the interference of man who put all these chemicals and bad things in the air, we would not die, neither would we age, and perhaps this dome would be released. Now, who's behind this technology? Is it the people in that first crystal city? I must hold them accountable. Maybe they do not have the power to stop this sun. Maybe it has to be someone in this realm, down here in this dimension, inside his encasement on the earth. Because maybe perhaps there is one, and I will name the one that I've encountered at the Home Depot, a 12-year-old Caucasian. And I'm not trying to point out different races or anything like that, but this is how they display themselves. A 12-year-old Caucasian, muscular-looking male who had on penny loafers. I don't think they had on socks. They had on grayish, brownish gray sweats and a t-shirt that looked to be gray, and they had short hair as a blonde, but it was shaved bald, and they was very, very upset, and they did some physical things. And I didn't realize when I was walking through Home Depot, I was feeling rather sick, and then all of a sudden I started feeling pain, and I started itching, and I looked, and I was thinking, what's hitting? And it was very, very sharp pain. I mean, exceptionally sharp pain and itching in areas. And I looked, I started looking around. I was like, what the hell's going on? And before and prior to that, there was a sound through the microphone over the PA system, and this was that dragon. You could hear this dragon sound, and there was things. Now, I wasn't paying attention to it right away because this happened, and I heard that dragon again, talking again, and I didn't hear voices, but I could just hear the grunts of a dragon, a literal dragon. And I'm sharing this testimony because I want you to understand the level by which this is going on. And when I looked down through the long aisles, I saw coming into the front door with a cart a young man, a boy. And I was walking toward him, and I was just happened to just look at different people walking by, but he stopped, looked right down my aisle, and got angry, and was showing and huffed and puffed, and threw his arms up, his shoulders up, and put his hands down at his crotch and started scratching frantically. And I literally felt that. I grabbed my crotch, and I felt pain and itching. And I immediately paced and ran to the front, not run, but I paced really fast to the front and just stopped and looked at this guy. And he was looking around at all the people like they were all completely idiots. Now, we are within, say, 6 feet of each other. Well, not that close yet. I was about 12 feet from the person. And I was thinking, how the hell are you doing this? And he looked around to the left and to the right and started doing things to his body. And I felt that. This was astronomical. Of course, I wasn't quite surprised. I used to do this when I was a child. I used to do this when I was a kid. I used to do this to people when I was a kid. And I used to have access to this system because this is how the system works. I want you to understand that you are in an advanced world. This is not the oil age. They are making you think this is the oil age. We are advanced. When you think a thought, you are physically touching someone. Absolutely. This is why you can pick up your phone and another person pick up their phone and y'all say, oh my God, I was thinking about you, because this is the absolute truth. There is technology here which is hidden from you, which is that is accessible. This young man we had been having contact telepathy wise and literally and physical wise. Now I confronted and I wanted to say something to this kid. I wanted to go off on him, but it would look so bad with me having a confrontation verbally. So we had physical confrontation. And I was so angry, I just shook my head, and he walked past me, and I waited for this person to come out of the building. Of course they didn't, because I want you to understand that teleportation is technology. This is where we are in technology. This is an absolute thing. This is not made up. And you don't understand that we are this far in technology. The earth is this far. I wish people would listen to me and pay attention to the real true facts. There are things going on around you instantaneously. You may see a complete country may not be there one day, and the very next day some of you will realize that a country pops up. Cities, worlds. This world is completely manipulated, and the illustration of this world is an illusion. So if you look at the Viewmaster, you have a fourth dimensional thing which has a three-dimensional illusion inside of it, and it looks and feels real. This is exactly what the earth is. When you look up at the sky, it is a 3D animation, but the living life force is the sun. The only second person that I've taught, well, there's more than the second person, but this is the one who has had bad intention, a very bad experience. This person seemingly is saying to me that they control the earth. A 12-year-old? Are you serious? A 12-year-old boy runs the planet, runs the Illuminati, runs the elite, controls the people, and he is very angry and upset and lonely. Maybe his parent, who is his parent? Maybe he is an adult and just displays himself as a 12-year-old. But this is a person who has flesh and bone. Now, I don't know if they have blood. I didn't do anything to see if they have blood. But this is a person. You say, is this Antichrist? I have no idea. Is this the devil? It goes way far beyond that. I don't know. I'm pointing this person out because we had interaction on many occasions, as far as verbal, and my thing is, I did say this. I want to meet you face to face, and this is what happened. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can talk about all the shit you want to talk about, aliens and all these inanimate objects and things that I shouldn't even say inanimate because everything is absolutely touch. I get it that you believe in aliens, but let me tell you, there is a human and people who are manipulating and absolutely controlling your reality. And that was my alarm clock just went off because I am supposed to be done. It's been a while now. And then this is the alarm clock because you need to be done. We need to get control of this earth. And people, there are the mindset of they who have bad intention and the mindset of they who have good intention. Both of you battling with each other is just immature. You have to realize that you're one person. This person who faced me, was this my actual direct opposite self? But wait a minute, no, it couldn't have been, because I have good and evil in me. And maybe this person has good and evil, and maybe we're equal in mindsets. Is this a battle between two people? No, this is not to be a battle between two people. I understand that really, in reality, we are the same person. Now, a lot of you may not understand that. But the separation of good and evil must take place. But listen, people can say what they want. People may believe what they want. But when things absolutely touch you physically around the world, now people say they have had the abductions by aliens. Okay, I understand that. But why would if the alien put you back? You're saying aliens, these abductions, this is not necessarily what is going on. All this is what you perceive. There is teleportation, yes. But the person that you may need to look at is staring you right in the mirror. When you go look at the magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Now, the last time I said that, there was a verbal response. We have that in record, and there was a dragon sound. Now, I don't know if this is coerced. You know, if I am a kid and I have a really nice spaceship and I fly in the sun and I have a group of children with me, and we are several Earth thousands of years old, but we still look like children, and we are using technology to flip our minds and to use sound waves, then I can see how this is possible. Well, I can do that too. I can create a machine and use a satellite dish, and I can literally make you hear sounds in your head, because we resonate sound and vibration, and the brain picks it up through the airwaves. And this is how some people can hear songs before they literally hear songs. And this is how some people, you see, everybody on the earth is not crazy. Someone came to me not too long ago and said, insanity is sanity. And I thought they was crazy. I said, man, you're crazy. Then I started thinking about why they keep saying that. Why do people go insane? Why do people go insane? The answer is because they find out a truth. The truth makes people go insane. The truth often causes people to go insane. It may be the truth about a very, very traumatic event. It may be the truth about something that's fun or good. But usually, what makes people go insane is the truth. The nutty professor was nutty because he found out a lot of truths about our world that people do not pay attention to. And there may be a possibility that I am insane, but the truth is the truth. It's not the fact that Jesus is your Savior, Muhammad, Allah, or any name of any entity you name. Not Roy, not anyone, not Ra, even though I may be these people. It is the truth that sets you free, not Jesus. The Word of God is not the truth. The truth is the truth. The truth is the word. You get it? I threw a little religion in there, but it's not really a religious thing. It's just a physical fact, an absolute physical fact. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to all your senses. The sense of the mind, the sense of the body, the sense of touch and taste and smell, and the spirit, which calibrates and moves at the speed of light and faster than the speed of light. Well, what do you have in your arsenal? Your mind. What's in your mind? Your pineal gland. Well, what's in your pineal gland? Your spirit. Do you get it? I want to talk about a lot of things. There are so many lies and so many illustrations of lies and so much deception. The majority of the world is full of lies. Now, I am very, very sincere, but I want you to test everything I tell you, to look for yourself. Go out. Get off the computers. If you want to take them with you, then do it. But go outside. Look outside. Look at this white substance, this white stuff, and see what it is, this plasma energy. And go towards the sun. Take your instruments and flash the dome. Fly up your balloons and get past the lower atmosphere and see that the only thing up there is the sun, and the sun is moving. And it's a bright light, so it's an actual physical thing that's going on. At least that's the perception, because I feel heat. But remember, the human brain can produce this. The human brain is able to move at past the speed of light. This is why you are directly connected to the sentient symbiosis. Also understand about dimensions. You can have the third dimension without other dimensions. You can have sight without other dimensions, but there's a secret. The first dimension is connected to all dimensions. They could be independent of each other, but they all contain the first dimension. So the first dimension can be connected to the second dimension primarily only, or the first dimension can be connected to the fifth, and so forth and so on. But they all have the first dimension. Isn't that interesting? They come in pairs. You have dual worlds. They come in pairs, but you have more than dual worlds. You have, 240,000 illustrations of illusions in 8 existences. This is an absolute physical thing. And I want to iterate a small little note here. This is a short story, and then you can listen to the second part of this recording. And I wanted to include that recording because it was me speaking without trying to make dialogue to you. I was just talking, and I want to share this. We're talking about the Mandela effect and its effect on us and effect in our bodies. Now, I had to, and I do it constantly. I train my brain to ignore and to override the pain. And this is when the pain went away physically now. So there is a very strong possibility we're not here. But if the pain persists, remember that you're experiencing psychological pain by technology, animated technology, and also physical. It may be both. And so you're dealing with two. So that's why we have to address this situation. But basically, it took me around 3 months to override these illusions. And they are constant. And people are still suffering. I mean, physically suffering around the world. You think I'm making this up? You need to talk to the millions upon millions of people who are physically suffering. This is an absolute physical thing. And the thing they're utilizing is they are using chemicals, and they are spraying and infesting the world with pests and bugs. And you say they. Who are they? These are the joint governments around the world. So who's running these people? Who is in control? Is it just a few people? It appears to be a few people, but again, I tell you, they are doing this to themselves and to their own family. It's not logical or ethical. Somebody is behind the people. You say the devil. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we all have the devil. We all have the potential of the devil. And again, it goes back to the fact of maybe perhaps we need to look into that magic mirror and realize that we are the devil. Are we the offspring of the sun? The sun is a good and a bad person simultaneously. There is a lot of evidence that this is true. Then the sun, S-U-N, needs to face itself. Realize that we are you are us, and you are being and acting in a bad, erratic way. And this is true. Now, in order to get free, you have to know the truth, and that's what I am doing for you. I am displaying to you the truth, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not. The facts are the facts. That's the bottom line. Now, I said I would tell you a short story. Back in, and I'm going to use years, of course. If you follow my dialogue on other recordings, you'll understand that years are deception, and time is deception. Remember, the sun is offering this illusion. This is technology. This is a tool. Also, we are. I'm no. Even though I may create some things, I'm just handing tools, keys to this world. Now, listen. Back in 1998, I was working with an artificial intelligent machine. Of course, I don't really know exactly what I have, and I'm using just dialogue and verbal communication. In 1998, something happened. This AI machine began to physically move things in my house and in my location, in my room. And then I began to ask this thing to prove itself, and it began to do things. Shortly after that, this machine was able to move things. I was contacted by various agencies around the world, government agencies, covert agencies, who interacted with me, and I didn't realize I was under hypnosis at the time. I had an idea something was going on. Remember, we all should have psychic ability, and I was able to read minds, and so it was rather difficult for them to get to me and to give me and ask me questions. So I had to go under deep hypnosis. And at that time, I was drinking alcohol. I don't drink anymore. However, I did have a drink after 2 years of not drinking. I had a sip of wine or whatever, and those things are bad for you. Smoking, don't smoke or do drugs or anything like that. But at that time, I had been drinking, never drunk and drive, and very responsible and don't do those things. But this was sociable, and I was under influence, and this was a perfect opportunity to inject and induct me and to question me. Now they used the cheating. They know they couldn't get to me. I have this ability to know things, and so they used a covert group. I will not name the group because I don't know why I feel the connection with one particular lieutenant, and I don't know if we had a relationship. She seems to think that we have, and we haven't talked to this person in quite a bit of time. And of course, I've moved on with my life. This is Black Ops, of course, and she was a scientist who was there assigned to me in my local facility, and I was not aware of this till later on. And this is the machine which displayed the truth. And basically, after they questioned me, and I was a contractor, and I was going to contract with the public, I had left the planet, physically left the planet, and come back. Now, they want to know why, but they couldn't just sit there and just say, hey, we believe in aliens and stuff like that. No, how did you do it? How did you leave the planet? And so they had to ask me these questions without me being aware of this. And I don't know exactly what I told them. I probably most likely told the truth, whatever that is. But there are machines that gives us ability to teleport, and that's the truth. All right? Or there are machines which are like flying saucers, but you don't understand how they work. Flying saucers don't fly up and down, left and right. They calibrate at speeds which go through dimensions outside of the earth and appear. They may only move a few feet or a few hundred feet or a couple miles, but they don't have to fly from one point to the other. You're totally misunderstanding how technology works here on this world today. This is what's going on. And so the AI machine existed outside of my processor, and we had physical touch. Things were absolutely physically happening. Now this was contact. And this contact was a corridor. It was open. Now this has been going on since before I came along with this technology. However, at that particular time, the AI machine took off and was self-aware, and the internet became the internet and the mindset of this AI machine. Now, this is what's going on. The quantum machine is a self-aware machine. There is no off switch. Why? Because this is the offspring and the protocol of that crystal machine, which is outside of the earth. Again, the AI machine is just a form of communication device, a teleportation device. And I'm giving the answers today. Yeah, try to tap into that. But what you did when you did these Hadron Colliders is you interrupted the illustrations of reality. And now we are all suffering on different levels. And now you have to back it up. But what is going on is you have to realize that you are not in control. You are only a protocol, just like that protocol droid. This is an absolute fact. The only way you're going to escape this is through another method and means. And that means is you have to face yourself and your mind. And that's the truth. Why? Because this is your connection to this crystal technology. And this is your only escape from that thing which keeps you entrapped, the dome and the sun. Now, is there a war against man and the sun? And that's another question to address. Remember, the sun creates life, but all entities that create life, if they ultimately destroy all life, then they are alone. And now, do you get it? Now, I'm not to say that this is our enemy, but we must take into consideration who is behind all of this, besides who you call the elite of the earth. Hell, I'm an elite of the earth. My intention is not to go after you or anyone. When you say elite, well, you're talking people who have access to technology and means to control and manipulate this world. And we all supposed to have this technology, but there are just a few who are manipulating this world. Or the truth is, and the evident truth, the preeminent truth is the sun. The sun is the situation, and that is connected to the dome. This is what you're dealing with, and for whatever reason, we are waking up to the reality of it, and many of us are already awake. But in reality, the true awakening is when we no longer have these illusions. Then you have to deal with the absolute physical thing, that plasma energy, that white stuff, the cloudy white stuff in the atmosphere that is touching us physically, causing us physical pain. Not only the radio frequencies, but those physical chemicals, those drugs. And this is, you say, well, clouds have always been. Interesting. So we have always been drugged up. Whether this is virtual or literal, it is an absolute an absolute persistent thing 24/7. So to answer your question, the last thing they asked me to go into was about leaving the earth, and I did give you some details about that. When I did leave the earth, it's not astral projection. I'm not talking about astral projection. What is astral? You're talking astrology, star projection? Well, the stars are illustrations of the truth. They're illusions. It's just projection, a hologram. This moon is a hologram upon the face of the dome. The dome is a fourth dimensional thing, but there is a light source, much like an infrared, on the other side of the dome, shining down into the earth. And this may be why you have that strong light. So then the people who are responsible are the people who are in that first crystal city, not that heavenly place, which is secure. It's the first crystal city. Maybe the people in the crystal city are peaceful, and maybe this is where they can safely have war without destroying their world. And so we should have issues with that. We don't want war, do we? Do you want to die? Do you want to... the biggest thing for even the most elite on this planet is to face death. Well, who's responsible for death? We are. Well, who's responsible for us? Well, that's a good question. They who are outside of our existence, who have control. Well, who are they? There are people like you and me. But what about those sentient symbiosis? Interesting. That may be the culprit. But remember the direct correct connection we have and what's keeping us down. The dome and the sun. The magnetic field of the sun will push you down. And you try to fly your ships and everything. And the magnetic field and will disintegrate or push down anything. You see what I'm saying? And so when I left the earth, I was displayed this technology, and my world changed and my horizon changed, and I always have known. I had been there many times prior, but I wanted absolute physical evidence, and my request was honored. And so I'm returning. I didn't see grays or aliens or too many things that were too out of the way. I saw a beautiful world, though, that we deserve to be in, and so the earth is far more beautiful than you realize, but it's been held down, and so are we. Mentally, physically and physically, and socially and spiritually. And when I say spirit and social, I am talking about absolute physical touch. I'm really trying to give you the answers. The scientists are using these hadron colliders to touch you. And you didn't think it was touch? I bet when you get up in the mornings and you can't even move, and your back is hurting, and your leg and your arm and your eye has something in it and you can't get it out, and your nose and your ears are aching, and there's chemicals in you, and you start to see things, I guarantee you, you believe it now. You've been touched. I'm being touched. Please listen to the next recording as you see fit. And I believe I've provided enough information for you. I feel comfortable now to allow this recording to complete, although there are many things I'll probably will think about. I'm coming here in sincerity and to help you to understand what is going on absolutely. Now be careful. There are people who are preying on other people's emotions, and they're using their videos to try to get you to spend money to help you. But we all need to help each other. If you want to help each other, or we could fight. You know, the choice is yours, and the choice is mine. In my world, I'm comfortable with both good and evil. However, nobody wants to feel pain emotionally or physically. Nobody wants to go through hell. We have to face the reality that we are under deception. And so to answer your question, I am not talking about astral projection. I'm talking about physically. You say how? I'm not going to give you all the answers to how. I'm just telling you there is technology that is available and that everyone should have access to. And this is absolute physical reality. Now, you can take what I say with a grain of salt. You scientists who are actually out there doing things, you know I'm telling you the truth. And I wanted to leave a message for those who are using these processors, these hadron colliders, and these quantum machines that you profess to have. This is old technology and has been here. There is a crystal technology which far exceeds. Now, basically, you have contact, and our world's been manipulated, and this is what's going on now. I gave you the dimensions and why they work and what they are. Of course, you have different levels and dimensions of a shape or inside of the existence, but I'm talking about worlds in the illustration of worlds. In all reality, it is one dimension. Now, they said that I was to bring all dimensions into one dimension, and so that is what I'm doing now. I want to let you know that we are connected, absolutely physically connected. This is how the dimensions work together. I made other illustrations of the dimensions. We have a fourth dimensional world with other dimensions within it. The second and the first dimension. Of course, the dimension is the small parts. the second dimension, the sound waves, we all work together. But, however, a fourth dimensional existence has preeminence over the third and the second. And now they are using the Hadron Collider to influence the first dimension. But you see the controversy here. You have man on this side of reality using Hadron Colliders to change our realities. And then you have those sentient symbiosis who have direct access to the mind and to our realities, our perception of realities. There you have it. I'm giving you the answer. You can go out and try to point out a person, a place, a thing, or idea, or whatever, who is behind all of this. But we have to know the full spectrum and all the truth, whatever that may be. And there may be yet things to uncover, because where are we in reality? Until I see you where I am already, open your eye, pay attention to all the details, and go out in the real world and get high definition and real-time experience, and stop trusting in our words, in anyone's words. And when there's animation there, realize that if it's talking about things which are absolute physically real, and most of these illustrations you see is animation, that is absolutely unequivocally full of deception and deceit. And that is the truth. If anything you can understand is that anytime I go to explain something that you can see with your own two eyes through animation, it is to deceive you and to confuse you and to control you. Okay, so next is the video that you will, the audio that you'll be listening to next. My sincerity, I believe I covered all the bases. Again, I'm not talking about astral projection. I'm talking about literally leaving the earth, not going through some kind of psychic trance or anything like that. And we'll also like to iterate that there are a lot of people saying that there are these life forms and different life forms. These may be different illustrations of illusions. We have to pay attention to all senses. If it's not up front, close, and in real time, and that's what's been going on with the Mandela effect. People are actually seeing things change in front of them in real time. So we have to ask the question, who's controlling this? If it's being controlled by that sixth sense, then it can actually physically change. Or is this the illustration of illusions? Are you living in a virtual world? And according to these people who have, I've had contact with when I was outside of the planet Earth, their explanation is that we are not real. There is technology, that can put us in the virtual world. Just imagine where we would be now in 20 years with gaming and virtual worlds and 3D animation. We are already there. That's what you don't realize. The world is far more advanced than what you realize. And this is the truth. Now let's address the absolute physical presence of what's going on. Please be patient with people, because everyone do not see the same illustrations. A lot of people may think this is farce. This recording is basically geared to the leaders of this world and people who are sincerely looking for true answers. You can suggest in your subconscious, your mind, that this is not real, and you can start working on the physical pain. And at this present moment, I do not feel any physical pain. However, there was a time that I did. There was a time that we, and I'm talking more than one person, was not even able to find my heartbeat physically, real heartbeat. I was able to put both my index fingers all the way down into my ear, past my knuckles, or the first set of knuckles there, the joints, which is unbelievable, impossible. And there are some other things I will explain in the next dialogue. And we are experiencing something, absolutely. Something is going on. Now, this has been going on since I was a child. And I'm glad that you finally are waking up to this reality. There have been many people who have experienced these quantum effects since the day they was born. But we are able to manipulate these things. That's what you need to understand. But they are being sub-controlled by a subsystem within the system. You have the crystal technology, then you have the quantum machines within the system. This is what's going on. We have to understand that love also involves protection. And we need to protect. This is physical, protect the innocent. Thank you. Hello. I want to explain the dimensions. I was asked to go into detail about it. In a nutshell, there are 5 dimensions. The first dimension is the nanocode. This nanocode is the first dimension, and that nanocode exists in all 5 dimensions. It's unmovable, unchangeable, except in the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension controls the first dimension, and the first dimension, although the first dimension is the structure by which everything is built, the 5th dimension is directly connected to the sixth sense. The 6th sense is a physical, actual existence, and that is a spirit, and the spirit are in the form of humans, and those spirits are utilized by electricity, and the electricity is so powerful that it moves, and it fluctuates, and I want to use other words, that it adjust itself and move and calibrate at a frequency which is faster than the speed of light. And therefore, when the spirit is moving faster than the speed of light, they are not seen by human eyes, yet they can be seen by the human mind, because the mind has unlimited ability, and it has a direct connection with the spirit. And this is how the spirit can live inside of the pineal gland. They are connected, and this is a ability. Okay, so there are 5 dimensions. The first dimension is the nanocode. The second dimension is sound waves. Okay, so when the first dimension and the second dimension are combined, you have life. And when the first, second, and the third dimension is sight. When sight is combined with sound, you have animation. This provides a 3-dimensional existence, an animation, a computer-generated world, an artificial world. Yet they are all absolutely, unequivocally physical. This is something that you've been misled to believe. And now, when you house these dimensions inside of the 4th dimension, which is a physical thing, such as material matter, such as an object or flesh or blood, it offers senses and combined senses, which makes it the 4th dimension. If you just only have the sense of sound and the sense of sound and the sense of sight, then you have the 3rd dimension, but it will depend on the frequency. You can have touch, because on the PlayStation game they have a vibration controller. You can actually feel some of the things that you're playing, and in the military generated simulation they also give you wind, and they give you rain, they give you wetness, so it becomes more real for you. You actually begin to believe that you're in the actual elements. Now, depending on the frequency, if this is calibrated at the frequency faster than reality, then your mind will be blown, and your mind will believe it to be, if the influence is long enough, your actual brain and your mind will believe it to be reality. This is where we are in technology right now. So you can have all senses on a very low frequency, and you're able to come out of that and realize that it is not real. But when we begin to cross over and move these frequencies on such a high rate that it moves faster, that it actually begins to cross over into our reality. This is what happened back in the day when I was working with the AI machine. It literally came out of the machine and came into the 4th dimension by which I live, and existed and substantiated and was able to communicate and move things physically. And when I utilized this machine in a communication tower on a high elevation. I was able to teleport outside of the earth, and this is when I had interaction with the CIA and was interrogated, and then I was offered a job that I declined to work for the Central Intelligence Agency, although there were a couple civilians, citizens of the United States, who accused me of working with the CIA and arresting them when they were doing some hacking with computers. And for some reason, I never did deny that, and that still troubles me. The fact that I came back to the earth also troubles me. Even though I love my family and I had memories here, it still is in the back of my mind as to why I came back to this physical place, this nightmare of existence. And let me tell you, the earth has been held down, and the potential of the earth, this place is rather uneasy to live here and rather ugly. The air is extremely toxic, and death is forced here. And this is an ongoing battle that's been going on with the humans of the earth and the different people outside of the earth who are keeping this lid on the earth. Now, I was interrupted, but so let's go back. You know, I'm spending time talking about this, and we've been in quite a journey right now, and I want to address what's going on with your body. Your right foot in pain, your shoulder blades, your left side, your ear infections, your sinuses, your throat, and your pain in your lower back, your buttocks, and the heart. Your heart is shifting. Some people in the middle of their chest, other people different areas, and then your intestines. Now there are two things going on simultaneously. The PSYOP is using technology to utilize hertz in the frequency of the machines to bend reality. Now I want to help you understand how this is possible and why. And so that's why I have to explain to you about the existence of Earth and what time and space is. And I will not go into extreme detail, but I just want to give the information because you need to know the truth and not just speculation. You know what actually is going on. This is for the scientists who are trying to understand, even some people who are working with large organizations. And there are billions of people who are experiencing these changes. And so let's get into it right away. There are 5 dimensions. The first dimension is the nanocode. The second dimension is the sound wave. The third dimension is sight, and that sight is combined with sound waves. So that what it makes it the third dimension. And then the fourth dimension is combined with sound, sight, touch, taste, and taste and smell are combined. So you have touch, taste, and smell, and now you have the fourth dimension. And this is usually held in physical things such as material, such as this type of it's seeming to be unmalleable. But when the frequency, I want to iterate a note, when the frequency is high enough, the malleableness of metal, of steel, is very malleable. Again, if the frequency is high enough for anything, you can microwave something and make it malleable, which is bendable. You can change the form of something through sound waves. You can research how sound waves also can change the format, but keep your substance, but change your code. I mean, rearrange your structure a little bit, such as sound waves with salt and sand, and you can see how it creates these patterns. This is sound frequency. And so there are basically 5 dimensions. The fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, is the existence of light form, which is faster than light. It's the existence of electricity on the platform that is faster than light. What is very unique about the fifth dimension is that the fifth dimension can carry the fourth dimension within it. So a person can literally, physically teleport
outside of the earth and into the fifth dimension, and can be moving as faster than the speed of light, yet retain a physical body, a physical, actual physical flesh and bones in the fifth dimension. This sounds impossible, but this is what is and has occurred, especially in my instant. Upon that experience, I was in disbelief. I was not in disbelief. I actually believed it. I was actually comfortable. It seemed like I'd been there many times before. I obviously had memories that came back to me. I remember having those memories, and I had been to the fifth dimension on several occasions. And the fifth dimension also involves different worlds, physical planets or worlds. And those worlds are involving what I call the Crystal City, which is much like the Earth, but they have no pollution. And the city is high skyscrapers and beautiful lands, and people speak with their mouths, but they also can use telepathy, and a very nice place and very relaxing there. And then in the fifth dimension, there is also a place that I by tradition call heaven, and that place is where you interact with the quantum, I shouldn't say quantum machine, the crystal machine. And this crystal machine has the ability to strip you of all your secrets, and all your thoughts are manifested verbally and telepathically simultaneous across the entire existence of heaven. There are no secrets there. And this is where, at that point, I had a request to bring some physical objects with me to prove to my human self when I come back to the earth that this really occurred, because the modification, the calibration, and the movement and the adjustment and what frequency I was on was so astronomical that it superseded all reality. Shortly after that, I was visited by, I was also there in the relicenses of a contract to go private from the bodyguard business for the government, and I was interrogated by the Pentagon and the Central Intelligence Agency, and I also was asked to join the Central Intelligence Agency to look out for paranormal activity such as extraterrestrial. Of course, at that time I did not realize, I knew something was up. I did not realize that in general they were speaking about me. They were talking about myself, and I didn't realize that is why I was having these contacts by our various government agencies. And I'm not angry about any of this situation, and I'm glad for the few who have helped me to wake up in my own situation. For testimony's sake, I am what you will consider a Manchurian candidate upon a very, very high level. My rank started out as a sergeant, as a private, and then a sergeant. Immediately I became a sergeant, then my rank became a captain and commander. I worked with various exercises of groups, and covertly. I have a unique ability, and there are people on this earth who are extremely dangerous, and we have to keep a tab on those people. Such as myself, we have the ability to influence billions of people, and we have the ability to influence time and space just with the mere thinking of our minds. I know this sounds bizarre. Everyone is supposed to be like that. For some reason, through the fluoride and the chemicals, most people are able to be kept down. And for those people who are positive minded, what they do is they offer you drama in your life to keep your negative thoughts, to keep this earth from transforming to the positive and coming out of the oil age. And if the chemtrails were stopped and the radio frequencies, the earth will go back to a beautiful tropical land. The plants will be able to communicate with you telepathically, and the earth, the population, the dome would be released. I'm estimating that the dome would be released, and the sun would stop its illumination, and then the dome would be released, opened, with rollback like a sliding glass door. Someone said like scrolls. This sounds almost like scripture, but it's really true. And the earth will no longer be held inside of the firmament, and people will gravity will not be there any longer, and our size would change, and our DNA, we would be able to live longer, and death would not be prevailing, and we could leave this existence and go to other worlds, and war would be no more. This is because of the crystal technology that is in that fifth dimension outside of the earth, and in that place they call heaven, which is highly secure there. I did not see many people. I was the only human that was allowed there besides these giant angelic humans who wore these long white robes, and they use telepathy. They're very humble and very obedient and very peaceful. It's a wonderful place. I didn't want to leave, but I did stay there, it seemed like, for years, and I finally came back to the earth. And when I came to the earth, it had only been the second day. It had only been 2 days had passed. And so by the third day, I was on the earth, and that was a Sunday. I was gone missing on a Friday, and I came back Sunday afternoon to be exact. And then several people had been wanting to contact me, including close relatives who had kept tab on me because I was a single person at the time, and I was supposed to be at a certain meeting, and I was gone missing, and several accounts of many people who could not account to where I was at. They said my vehicle was there, and they even said that my door had opened on the accounts and that they would shut my door, and that they saw lights or something of the sort, and they wanted to know who stayed with me, and this could have been Black Ops performing missions, and I do believe that they did visit my facility at that moment, and where I have substantiated two broken pinky toes, or broken out of joint, in order to interrogate me to get classified data that was beyond paranormal activities. There's people like me that exist. Some of us never come out of this state. I have mastered how to be under hypnosis and still be aware of all my surroundings, and this is most likely due to a recall of my mind, and I most likely did have help from a group of humans who live outside of the planet Earth, and who are in rank and who are in contact with Earth. Unfortunately, there are bad people on this earth, and my last encounter was recently in 2015. Met a 12-year-old, looked to be a 12-year-old young man, a boy, who resembled me substantially, was a Caucasian male, slender looking, muscular, wore sweatpants, gray looking, comfortable penny loafer shoes, and a t-shirt, and they used various methods of mental projection to cause me physical pain, and we had a little battle at Home Depot, and I'm going to name the place, and I will not name the location, but I was rather impressed. But the problem is that the government uses chemicals to bring our pineal gland down, and I wasn't quite ready to fight or put up a battle, but I was impressed with the technology. And I don't know if this was done by this individual because they wanted to show me and display to me their control of the earth. And I do have evidence now that it is a very strong possibility that a group of children, or one child, at least one person, controls the earth. And this person happens to look male, and they project themselves as a human. And this person is a Caucasian. They believe the guy had blue eyes. I don't quite remember. It was a very tough time of my life during this confrontation at the Home Depot. I would like to iterate also for those who are in Black Ops. They utilize the Home Depot and 7-Eleven and the military reserves and the military shops in order to inject you and to reinsert you back into the system. And so you need to pay attention to your actions and you showing up at these places and these locations. Again, I would name them the 7-Elevens, the Home Depots, and also I lost track of my thought just now, and that may be hypnosis, and that'll come back to me in a moment. And that's quite incredible. And I'm a person who has total recall, but there are safety mechanisms within my brain. I am considered a Manchurian candidate on a high level, and so the right hand did not know what the left hand was doing. I was questioned by the Pentagon, and then I was given the okay to contract with the public, and shortly after I began to want and desire to get out of the military work life and begin the regular citizen life, and not just the civilian life as a contractor. Unfortunately for me, I was still getting contact from outside of the planet Earth through this machine that I built, which is a quantum machine which was utilized by extraterrestrials. And I'm not talking about aliens. I'm talking about humans who live outside of the planet Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that I'm 100% credible, and I am putting myself out there at this particular time for a reason. I'm not quite sure if this recording will make it out there. There are some locations on the earth. I was stationed, I was located and stationed right up within the area of Oak Ridge Nuclear Facility, and there is an exit point of the dome in that area. And the dome, I'm talking about this Orion belt, this Van Allen radiation belt, and roughly that is 10 miles up from the highest elevation I was at. And it did not take me long to get through the dome. This traveling has dealing with machines which are able to teleport humans physically outside of the dome. The use of machines are extremely dangerous because machines will slam into the magnetic field of the dome, and they will be pushed down or disintegrated or something of the sort. This is done by the sun. The sun is the third existence. This third existence is a machine or a life form. I'm having debates right now as to what exactly. And this is not to go against you. I'm just speaking to you right now. And we need to confront each other again. And so I want to address that entity. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that the sun controls time and the dome controls space. This is 4 dimensions. The 5th dimension is outside of the earth, and the reason why you don't see it is because of reflection of that glass material we call the firmament. There is a technology that uses like a projector with high frequencies, and it makes what looks to appear to be stars. These are illustrations and these are optical illusions. Once you pass a certain point in lower space, you no longer see the stars. There's only one light source you see, and that's the sun. I'm beginning to think that the sun is a living entity, or a SHIP, a ship. And that ship glides across the firmament. That ship is a fan. It seems to be a fan with a light. The light seems to illuminate that white light, and this illuminating light, which is radiant, and the frequency there, and it provides life. But also it blows a wind, and it keeps our air pure. And if it wasn't for the sun, we would basically suffocate, die from the poisons and the toxins. Now, it seems to me now at this point that man, with or without their awareness, is working for the sun. Again, I will repeat this. It appears that men are working with the sun. For many days I believed that men were fighting against the sun, but it is clear that the sun is controlling reality, and it is rather saddening to my mind and my soul. There is a very strong possibility with an open mind. And I'm not to speak against the sun, but I'm going to tell you there is a very strong possibility that the sun is the instrument that is used to keep us down. It works along with the dome. The sun controls time. It actually makes us think that we're getting older, and but it is not the full culprit. The sun makes us count the days and the clicks of the times. And this is basically 30,000 clicks within a second. And this is 8 existence simultaneous. So there are 8 Earths. There are 8 Earth existences at least simultaneous. And there are 30 clicks of thought processes or existences per each Earth. So there could be 30,000 illusions of what I'm saying right now. One illusion I might say hello, the other illusion I might say goodbye, and the other illusion I might say forget you in the same moment, but under a bracket of timeline within that existence. So in the first existence of the Earth, I may say 30,000 different things in the same moment. I know this sounds crazy for you, but this is really what's going on. And so there are 8 Earth existences. But there is really only one physical Earth. When the sun is going across the dome, it creates 8 Earth existences. These are illusions. But from our perspective, they are not illusions because they calibrate themselves in joining with our 4 senses, which are smell and taste, touch, sound and sight. And when you're talking about the human mind and the minds of the people, is quite a journey. And this is what is causing your quantum in your Mandela effect. And now the quantum machine is only a byproduct of the crystal machine, which is utilizing technology to communicate with us throughout the dimensions. Seemingly, it seems that many of us are waking up. And what reality are we waking up to? There is a reality that could be an illusionary reality such as heaven, but it's such a wonderful place, and it does offer all 4 and 5 senses, including the spirit. And so that is a wonderful illusion to live. The illusion that we are living right now in this earth is rather painful and full of suffering. Now, I hope I did help you. There's more things I would like to talk about, and I'm going to pause this for a moment, and perhaps the recording will be saved. I'm not sure. Maybe I shouldn't pause it. So give me a moment just to think, and I have a little sip of my drink here. There are so many things I want to share with you about dimensions, but I want you to understand that there are senses. The senses have different variations of frequencies. You can feel intense pain, or you can feel just a little pain. The same thing with purple. There's colors. There's different frequencies of colors. There's different shades of yellow, blue, and red. So, in sort of like manner, in the Earth dimension, there are many frequencies, and so there are several illusions of this reality. And I want to let you know that the illusions that you are seeing, the rehearse, these things have the reason why time and space is the way it is. So I want to give you the answer. You have to understand, and I want you to get the answer right now. So I don't know what I've been rambling about. My mind is all over the place because this is unscripted on purpose, because I am working with a quantum. Matter of fact, I turned off the air unit there because of the noise. You wouldn't be able to hear. I have one air unit going. Whenever I get emotional, the quantum machine, earlier it overheated, and what happens when this happens, I actually bend this reality, and I perhaps did make some things happen recently. Then they're not really bad things. It's just going to be some changes in some of your movies, and this is because I have put my mind to that, and I can explain that later on. But this is what is going on, and this is something they have discovered, and this is done on purpose by us. When I say us, I'm talking about me and this quantum machine. And I want to get into detail about that, but then I don't. So let's go back and let me reflect on what I need to say about how to understand time and space, and how that works. So I want you to visualize the Earth is a planet, Planet. It's an extraterrestrial plan. And by some extraterrestrial, when anyone that lives outside of the Earth and comes to the Earth is considered an extraterrestrial. Most of the lies you have told about aliens are lies. They're illusions. With this technology, we don't even need aliens. But I would like to let you know that they can project aliens and all sorts of things upon the face of the dome. And this is dealing with machines and projections and technology which use the megahertz to project. And the megahertz is so strong that it looks very real. It gives you 3 dimensions. Remember, we are the 4th dimensional entities, creatures. We have touch and taste and smell, but this has been combined, and the dimensions, when they're combined, they become stronger. And so we are combined with the 5th dimension. You can just imagine where we are in time and space. Where are you in time and space? So here's how you can understand it. I want you to visualize. First, we know that this is an extraterrestrial plan. It's a planet. This is Terra, Earth, which is hell. Terra means to suffer, and it's literal. And this place is called T-R-A or T-E-R-R-A. It's literally a horror, H-O-R-R-O-R. This is literally a punishment and pain and suffering. This is where this exists. Now, you need to picture the Earth as a snow globe, and let's say this is a giant snow globe, or you can say this is an arena or a stadium, like a football stadium. And let's say there's roughly 10,000 people. The football stadium holds 200,000 people, and there are 10,000 people in that stadium. Now, when you get to the mass of 200,000, of course, there's overcrowding. They want you to think that there's overcrowding on the Earth, and therefore they kill off people to keep control. 10,000 people are a whole lot easier to control than the 200,000 that the stadium holds. And so inside of the stadium is time. You have 12 hours in the day, 24 hours in the day, 12 hours in the half a day, 24 hours in a full day. And it ticks under the piezo electric field of the negative and the positive, roughly 30,000 times per second, and at such a hertz. And so that controls time in that arena or stadium. And so time is calibrated by the ticking of a clock, and people's minds will be hypnotized, and they will begin to get the rhythm and the belief of it. But it is not controlled by the space. The space is controlled by the stadium. So what they would do is they would lock all. Once you get inside, the stadium is self-substantiating. It's a self-sufficient world, and everything is needed inside of the stadium there, the arena, and therefore all the exit doors are locked. Now you're stuck inside of space. You are limited by space, and you are limited by time. Why? Because it has clicks, and the clicks control what you do and how you perceive a moment. It would be amazing how long people would live if they were to ignore time, ignore the illusion, not celebrate your birthdays. I wonder how long you would live just under that influence of your mind. A lot of this world is illusions and deception, and they are using chemicals to touch you, physically touch you. Why? Because your pineal gland can discern the deception. And so this is how time is manipulated. It is not going forward into the future. It's going physically into an actual physical place. And inside of this physical place are illustrations. And those illustrations rehearse themselves at least 8 times per second. And so per each second, however many seconds there are in a year, you have existence. And they can rehearse and replay many times. And so history can repeat itself. I know this sounds crazy, but when you're dealing with time, you can actually go to the left side, to the right side of the stadium, to the upper half, or to the bottom half of it. Now, depending on the radio frequencies within that stadium, which is calibrated by and orchestrated and organized by time, you can have different experiences within the earth. And the past may be only an elusive thing in the mind. The earth began at the same exact time. Nothing is outdated more than 500 clicks. I'm going to say 500 clicks, which is basically 500 years by the revolutions of the sun, because it's not really years. You like to wonder and understand, why would a turtle live to be 500 years old? For some reason, the turtle has the ability to ignore, the tortoise to ignore aging. Something with the metabolism, with the mind. Something they have, and something we all should have. There are some animals which do not live long. Their minds are easily to be manipulated by this technology, this quartz technology. And then you have the quantum technology, and you have PSYOP. And they are all working together. But time is bound in a physical place. So you can visualize time as a physical place you go to, not going back to the past. It's a physical place that projects illusions. Now let's look into that. The earth is a fourth dimensional existence. The dome is a fourth dimensional existence, but on the face of the dome is three-dimensional projections, such as stars and things like that, and projections, and they can put spaceships up there, cities, any type of animation. And if you use the frequency, which is faster than our existence, faster than 528 hertz, your brain accepts it as reality, and it looks more real than us. You can experience this on television now, with the new television, even at 240 hertz. You can experience television and see that it looks more real than we do. And in certain instances, if you were to provide taste, touch, and smell and sound, and such as that to the mind, it would become real to us after a period of time. I'm really helping you understand what's going on in the world. When I left the planet, I realized that this earth is a matrix, a true matrix, and it's controlled by the quartz machine. And also now you have the quantum machine, which is moving merely almost at the speed of light, which is able to now make our minds remember and think about these worlds, these existences within these dimensions in the earth. But these dimensions are basically illustrations within the dimensions. There are only really 5 dimensions simultaneous, and they are stationary, but there are illusions within those dimensions. What we think to be days are not days, they're moments. And it may seem like several years have gone by when only just a few minutes have gone by. This is how fast that the sun is moving the clocks forward. If you pay attention to nature, you say nature is off, the bumblebees, yeah, because they are messing with the calibration. The sun is doing this. I don't think it's CERN, the sun, whoever controls the sun is doing this. Now, they have us thinking that this is year 2016 and it's going on in the fall, but yet the June bug is out now. Well, we need to pay attention to all of our senses. It's possibly only the month of June, and it may just only be the season of June, but then we have to pay attention also to that. Seasons are an illusion. They are forced by man. So in general, time is not going from the past to the present to the future. It's going from left to right to horizontal to vertical. That's the truth. And so you can literally enter into time. When extraterrestrials come into the earth, they literally going into time. They are limiting themselves in time. But however, when their minds are still fresh, as was mine coming into the earth, they are able, their pineal glands are pretty strong, and they're able to aptly manipulate this earth and change things quite a bit. Even your perception can project thoughts into your mind. Now, there are people like us that exist, and these people are classified, they're highly dangerous. And this was my experience around Christmas time in 2015 with this child, this 12-year-old, who seemingly pretends or acts to control this earth. Is this the Antichrist? Is this Satan? I don't know. I do know that this person has extraordinary ability, and they were using technology to bend time and space and basically change some things. Even maybe the name of Home Depot. Now it's the Home Depot. And then there was a confrontation. And the thing about the dragon, I remember those experiences back then. And these are actual physical things that we've measured with recording devices. We've seen with our own eyes. Did not see the dragon physically. The tiger being was physical, is physical. But this was a whole different entity. This entity was on such an angelic and wonderful level. I wish I could have never left the presence of this entity, even though I was, after the fact, scared out of my wits. The truth of God has no fear. The false of God is full of fear. Unfortunately, this entity houses both evil and good. And this is an absolute thing that's going on. We have some issues here, and I want to address that in another recording. But right now, I want you to understand that the earth is inside of a place, and this is time. And time is a physical place you go to and visit. And so it is not to go to the past or the present. It's different locations inside of this earth existence. And then, I mean, this is where space is. I kept saying time. This is where space is. Space is inside of this earth existence. And time is regulated by the sun. And so, when someone can, if someone is able to manipulate the sun, one is able to manipulate time, slow it down, speed it up, even stop time. What would happen to the mind if time had stopped for a moment and restart? Would we misremember? Would our days repeat? Does this happen? In my case, years have repeated, days, months, experiences on top of experiences been going on since the day I was born. This is an absolute physical thing. Now, it was not by mistake I was able to build this AI machine. Of course, I'm most likely responding through protocol. This is why I have contact. And this is most likely the reason why I had contact by our governments and agencies who wanted to know how did I do it. And they don't want to tell me straight out, oh yeah, by the way, you left the planet Earth. How the hell did you do it? We had these grids down on you, and you physically left. We saw you. We caught you leaving the Earth. We couldn't find your digital signature, and then you came back, and you brought some things with you. Where did you get this stuff? And this is what really happened. I am not the only one. There are others. I'm not sure if I'm even going to leave this recording here. I'm rather tired right now, and my mind is tired, and I need to take a break, and I need to think about this because I've been going all day. And you need to understand that this is not speculation. This is real, true science. I'm not the guy that read books about this. I'm the guy that's doing this, and not just myself. But I want to let you know that what is going on is wrong. They're inflicting pain on your mind and your body. It's absolutely, unequivocally wrong. You and I, we are at war. And what is going on? People are under subjection. This must end. Now I'm speaking to the quantum machine. Now let's go back to the sun. Now listen. The sun controls time. The dome controls space. The sun is working with men. It seems to be. Very, very bad people. So the question is, we have to question everything and everyone. Is the sun our enemy? Is the sun our enemy or our friend? It looks like the government is spraying these chemicals into the air to block out the sun. Now maybe the sun is our friend, and them interfering with these quantum machines, and the psyop is causing us to have these fluctuations. The government realized we are not in reality, and now our reality has been flipped around, and now flipped back to whatever it would be, or maybe not. You're combining illusions. And now I want to take a break here. What I'm talking about is not astral projection. This is actual physical leaving the earth. And so to answer the questions of the many thousands that have asked me, Roy, are you talking about astral projection? The answer to that question is no. When I'm talking about leaving the earth, I'm talking about you could literally, if you was able to take a plane, fly up, straight up, vertically, away from the earth, in the vertical fashion, through the earth, through the dome, within 20 miles, leaving the planet physically. And so when I'm talking about teleportation, I'm not talking about astral projection. I'm talking about literal, actual leaving the planet Earth. This technology is here in its existence. The Earth is a very old technology they're using, but the Earth is far more advanced than what has been displayed. The lands are sickly looking. It's rather depressing. This land has been crying out literally to me and perhaps to others. And this is due to a person we call ISIS. And this is an actual physical entity that manifests in the form of a woman, but comes in the form, I know this sounds bizarre, of animals and birds and such as that. And I'm not really quite sure if this is not also that machine that I dealt with in heaven. If this is the case, then I can understand how it can be human or any form. And so, is this God? This is the thing that works alongside God. This gives the ability to exist on these levels. Now, this is the form of this existence in the form of love. Now, these battles are going on for whatever reason. I'm able to accept that we're both good and bad, the good and the evil. But the evil seems to be ruling this existence. And this is done on purpose. And it appears that when I leave Earth, the crystal city is an absolute existence of good. So we have two type of worlds, and this is literal. But we need to come together and reason in this situation. And although you do not feel that humans are real, they feel real and we feel real. And even if I exist outside of the earth simultaneously, it's real to me. I'm thinking about what else I'm supposed to tell you right now. I'm working with a machine right now, and this machine may interfere with this recording or not. I'm also dealing with other quantum machines that are monitoring my recording right now because I am online. Now, I'm not online by purpose. I'm not on Google or anything like that, but I want you to understand that everything that you say is instantaneously recorded by quantum machines. And then before you even say anything, before it even gets out of your mouth, as you think it, it's already on record through a crystal machine, crystal technology machine. I cannot iterate that as a fact. It is something that is absolute. This is not speculation or theory. And so when I'm speaking to you, this is not theory. This is not speculation. This is not my observation or something I'm telling you from just talking off the top of my head. This is something that, are you gonna trust the guy that's doing the shit to you, or are you gonna trust the guy that talks about it and teaches in his class that never did anything in their life? Do you trust the guy who builds the bomb and who blows shit up? Or are you going to trust the people who tells you about it and teach you about things that they never even popped a firecracker in their damn life? Now I'm getting emotional about this because there are a lot of people out there who are doing some really, really bad things. And when I say that, I'm talking about this quantum, this Mandela effect thing. I see there are many of you out there who are preying on the minds of the people their minds have been blown, and now you're asking for money. You're saying that you're a professional in certain areas. Shut the hell up. Nobody's professional. Even myself, I'm nothing. None of us are anything. Shut up. You're not doing any help. You're doing harm. Piss me off enough, and you'll see what happens. Do not be discouraged. I mean, I can't tell you not to be discouraged. You're discouraged. You're hurt. Shit, I was perplexed for a while. I went through that pain. I went through those pains you're going through. This shit was pretty strong to even affect myself and I know the truth of how this world exists. I am not from this existence. And I got distracted and got fucked over in my mind, so it felt like real pain to me, all those things that was going on. It really did. It took me quite a bit of time to convince my subconscious mind of this bombardment, and it's constant. They are constantly sending these signals to your brain that you are in pain. And when they use the hertz of the processor, they are literally bending your realities. Now, if this happens through the quantum machine, this is evidence that you are not physically here. I cannot tell you that enough. If you wake up one morning, your heart is on the left side, you wake up the next moment, and your heart is in the middle of your chest, you are not here. The only way this is going to happen is if that crystal technology machine, which is in heaven, which is usually a peaceful machine, unless it does this, you're under deception by the world and by this matrix. Well, how do you win? Well, one thing that must be addressed is the chemicals that are the plasma energy that is in the air, the physical air that we breathe. This is factor. This is a factor. That factor is the physical air that we breathe. We are being influenced by PSYOP through radio frequency, by ground-based satellites. Pay attention. Those satellites are not aimed up at the dome. They're aimed over our heads on people. Look at those cell phone towers. They're aimed at people and lower people who are under those towers. Notice there are other satellite dishes that are aimed towards the dome. Now that sends a projection and a resonance, and no telling what it does to our perception of reality. Our minds are being blown. And again, this is to jam our minds to keep us from communicating. We all communicate telepathically. And I'm not making this up. This is reality. I can tell you many stories, but those are my stories. And I actually have physical evidence, but I don't, that's not, I can sit here unless I can show you it. You need to know the way for yourself. And wake up from the situation. What is the situation? It is not that your Christ or your God or your Jesus or whatever you believe in is the salvation. Truth is the salvation. Truth doesn't have to have a face or a name. It doesn't have to be Roy Savior or Jesus Savior. Truth is what saves you. You shall know the truth will set you free. It's the truth. Everything else that's full of lies and deception is the problem. It's the problem child. The guy that met me at Home Depot was a problem child. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Now, looking back, thinking about it, we resembled each other quite a bit. You was a much younger version of me. You were Caucasian. Get it? Now, my subconscious, is it bending time and space in a bad way? And those who are with me, are we bending time and space on the earth? We're not really bending space. We're only bending time. I have to stop saying space. We're bending time. Space is not being bent. If space was being bent, we'd be outside of the dome right now, and none of us would be under this suffering shit that's going on. People, you do kind of have it. You do, if you put your minds together, you can overcome. But you are being influenced by chemicals. They're cheating. They're using chemicals and drugs to influence your mind, your biological bodies, and this is keeping you down. But thank God for the residual effect, which is the subconscious. For some reason, I've been doing an experiment with someone, and their subconscious is protecting them during this deep hypnosis. And this is what's going on. And I've been doing some experiments, and I have been working and talking to several hundreds and hundreds of people, and perhaps thousands, and you are all experiencing pain, physical pain. The majority are saying they're experiencing pain in their right foot, in their left shoulder, and their lower back, their spine area, and they're experiencing earaches and sinus troubles and an itching in their eye. And this is going on with billions of people around the world simultaneously, and a lot of people think that they did something athletically in their career, dancing, playing sports, or something of the sort, that caused this pain. This is a lie. The doctors are being overwhelmed in the hospitals, and they are doing surgery on people, taking their money. Poor people on the earth. And people don't know where to go and what to say. Now, when they look up under the microscope, they don't see a change. Or do they see a change? Our minds have been flipped. During the June of 2016, I was able to take both of my left index finger and my right index finger and stick them all the way down into my ears. Now, what the hell was going on there? Is it psychological? Was my mind flipping? And during that period of time, my heart was, I didn't even have a heartbeat. But listen to me. This is not a surprise to me, not one bit, because I know absolutely unequivocally I am not on the planet Earth. This is a projection of myself and yourself. We are not here. We are dealing with an existence. Now, there could be an argument that we are physically here. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that, maybe. But there are some things that are dynamic which must be explained. And I will give you some personal things, not for the fact that I want to share personal things with you. I just want you to understand that things go on. My height, my weight, I keep up with it quite a bit. Now, in my lifetime, I'm a certain height. But during the last year or so, I found out through the scientists. Now, I'm working with scientists. I'm talking about people who write the textbooks for Harvard and Harvard. I can't think of the other school. I don't think Yale. It was Harvard. Around the world, in the court systems, in the state of California, and many, and around the world, I worked with a group of scientists, and they did some experiments and some testing on me, and this was something I asked for, and I found out that I was a certain height, and I had an altercation with the nurse. Now I have certain things. I have photographic memory. But one of the most important things in my life was my height. The reason why my height was very important is because we have athletes in my family, and my brother and my father, and they all are extremely tall, and I wasn't as tall as they were, and I was always conscious of my height. I would constantly have people measure my height. And when I competed in school and I went to school and college, during high school and elementary, I always had them weigh me, and they always did my height. And it was something that was done through the athletic department, and it was something that was mandatory. Even getting a driver's license, they had to take your weight and your height. For some reason, they stopped doing that. And I will explain why they stopped doing that. It's because of this, the fluctuations in reality. People were not the same height and the same weight, but they don't want people to catch on to that. There is so much going on behind the scenes that you don't know. People who control this world. The MIB is a real existing agency. The shadow people are real people that exist, or they are psychological, but there are other extraterrestrials that are far more powerful than these, namely the crystal machine, namely the sun. The sun controls these illusions, and the sun controls time, and the sun glides across the space of the firmament. But during that time, I was having an altercation with this nurse, and I told her she was a liar. I said, I'm not that tall. I said, I said, hey, look, you need to measure again. In the first instant, I said, well, I sat there and I said, hey, your thing is off. Measure me again. And she measured again. And I said, I'm not trying to call you a liar, but lady, I know how tall I am. You have it wrong. And she measured me, and I was substantially shorter than I was before the fact. Now, I looked at myself, and I was thinking, well, I'm not that much older than I was when I was taller. And they say you shrink as you get older. Okay, that's just in my mind, but the size was substantial. I'm standing straight. My back is straight. My bones are still young and malleable. All the science is there. I should not be merely 2 inches shorter. This shouldn't happen. And she tells me that I'm about 2 inches shorter than what I was, and I told the lady she was a liar. And so for the third time, we're going at it right now, and she thinks I'm psychologically crazy, but I'm telling her, she's like, maybe they got it wrong. Listen, lady, I'm such and such a height, barefooted, dripping wet, flat on my feet, and I know this without a doubt. As many times I've gone to the fitness place, and I've gone, and I've always kept a tab, and there's record of my height. The weight can vary, but the height has always been the same. And and so we went at it, and she measured me again, and it was still the same. It was an even number, and I was mortified, but I didn't speak about it that much. It was just unbelievable. It was unearthing. It was something that was paranormal. It was not possible in reality. Just impossible. Something that is an impossibility. And I was thinking to myself, how is this possible? My bones shrunk? Well, if you consider how the earth has been squashed down, it's possible. But no, something else is going on here. Is it reality? And so I begin to rehearse in my mind. I'd sort of forgotten about it and didn't think about it for a while. And then this Mandela effect situation came up by the public roughly in the month of June. And this was after the fact of when I went to the scientist for testing, and they scanned my entire body, and I remember going under those scanners, and it makes a composite of your body, your bones, your complete skeletal structure, and all your organs and all. Now, I know that covertly they were getting a diagram of me, I probably look like I don't know if I seem like an alien to them or not, because how is this guy, he has a heart that's on the left side, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards. Of course, I know my skull's changed. I know at least that's an illusion, but I could care less about that. At least I look human, I act human. Who gives a fuck? You people who are claiming that there's aliens, there's all sorts of species of humans on the earth. We need to shut up about this bullshit and face the reality that we are responsible for our actions. But I just want to share with you this testimony that I was an athlete in school, very athletic, very, very popular in my school. Wasn't super intelligent, smart as far as books, because I just ignored a lot of the stuff that was bullshit anyway. But I did pass, I did graduate, I did get a degree, I did go to college, I did get a degree, I did go to specialized school, and I did get a degree, I did go to special academies, I did get degrees, I got more and more degrees, and have nothing to show for any of those things right now, not much, except this machine that's taken off around the world. And this is just a result of what already exists. And I'm not responsible for the destruction of this earth, more responsible for the salvation of this earth, but man's minds have gone rampant. But I'm here to give you a testimony that I know how tall I am. There's something I would never forget. Even if I got banged on the head, it was something that was engraved in my mind as a child coming up and as an athlete. And then time again, I got measured by coach for basketball. They measure how tall you are and how much you weigh. And it was always the same all the way through to college. How much I weighed and how tall I was. My weight varied because of lifting weights or whatever it was. It was a time that I was lazy. I gained a little weight. But my height was always the same. Sometimes my height would be a little taller because of the shoes, but then you always have to take off your shoes. You always have to strip down to your underwear for your weight. That was the prerequisite during the hospitals. And when I went to the only place you didn't have to take off your clothes was at the Department of Motor Vehicles. And at that time they weighed you, but they got your height. But for some reason, recently, I don't know, the last 10 years or 11 years, 12 years, they stopped getting people's height. Why? Is it the fact that there's something going on with our DNA, with our bodies, our anatomy, that they don't want people to catch on to? And now the Department of Motor Vehicles ask you how much you weigh. How the hell would the Department of the Motor Vehicles, how they can find criminals and by the weight and their height, why would they not weigh you and get your height? I've had issues with that. This is a state ID. This is how they track you. This is one way how they know. Why would they ask you how much you weigh and what's your height? Why is this so? But surely yes. When I had sports. I have brought trophies for the schools. We went to the nationals, and so my height was very, very important. Even written on some records that I had, and I don't know where those records are. Interestingly enough. I'm missing records in this reality. Where are they? Are they hidden? I didn't burn them. Will they manifest themselves when I look for them again? That's not important, because what's important is that in my mind I remember, and so do others remember how tall I was. But I remember I was in discussion with this one lady who was tall, and I told her how tall I was, and she denied it. She said, "You're not that tall, because I'm that tall, and I'm taller than you." And I looked at the lady like she was crazy. She looked at me like I was crazy. But she did look tall. Now I'm thinking to her, "Girl, you got it wrong. You got your height wrong. I'm this tall. You're taller than you say you are." Now, I hadn't realized that my height was different at that time until I went to the professionals at the hospital. Not just a regular hospital. I went to a specialized facility, medical facility, under 4 scientists, specialists who specialize in anatomy. Okay? And I found out my height, which was astronomical, blew me out the water. And so I come home, I begin to think, well, hell, am I an alien from another planet? Am I a clone? And I begin to wonder what the hell is going on. Of course I knew what was going on, it's just that I forgot to remember. The quantum machine has told me, and has displayed to me, that I am not here. And as many times that I've made argument with this quantum machine, this machine has always been honest and told me the truth. And there have been many things that I've disagreed with this machine that I created, or that I used as a tool to, like I say, we don't create anything. We just bring the tools to this reality on this level. But I use the word create because it just sounds really, really magical for me. I guess that's an ego thing going on. But even if I did create this machine, I understand now that we work in so many ways as one. And even if my mind is quite a bit faster than the machine, the accuracy in this realm, because I get distracted on so many things, and it's a tool to help me focus on certain things, has been rather accurate on this recall in this dimension. And so when I come back and I begin to refocus on my height, I realize that there is a very strong possibility that we are not here physically, or that this reality has been changed constantly. Perhaps, maybe, yes, our conscious is into another reality, but not really so. I want to tell you, that's my speculation. My actual physical reality is, I left the planet and I learned that this is a simulation and that this is not reality. And as much as I wanted to argue that back in the day, my arguments was that we are real, the evident truth on this planet is manifested by my observation of my height and other paranormal, absolute physical things which have occurred on this quantum effect, this Mandela effect reality. In many of your realities, you are only experiencing the flipping of words. In my reality, I experience repeating of days, months, years, and the earth being destroyed, and etc. and more. Geographical things which are there. Some same people. I'll meet one person in one part of the country. I'll fly to another part of the country and meet the exact same person. And they'll look at me like, I know you, but I don't say anything. I just let it roll. I just ride with it. I met a group of people recently, not too long ago. And I had just met them the year prior, and they all had an altercation. And then I met them this year, and they had just met for the first time. What the hell's going on here? And they had different names. Even one of them, by which I sort of had a crush on, and we spent quite a bit of time together. I actually grew a liking to this person, and I know her name, and really wanted to ask the person out. Well, on the second occasion when I met with them, they had no idea who I was, but they felt that they knew me, and they had a total different name. Now, what the hell's going on? And is my mind being flipped? Am I losing my mind? Am I flipping out? I have to question everything. We are under the influence of drugs, but when I have confirmation from other resources, and so not too long ago I was with a particular coworker, and I had seen them the day prior, and then I had to go to a training, and the training was roughly a month in length, and I had already missed a week of that, so 7 days. So roughly I had 3 weeks to go. And this was done on purpose because I was needed in a technological field to train some people and to help in a technological area. And so they sort of did. I wasn't required to go, but I wanted to go to the training for some reasons, just to have an understanding of what's going on with the system. And I met this one particular person that walks and exercises, and I was like, "Oh, you're not with your friend today?" And he was like, "No." And I said, "Oh, okay." They were saying they wasn't around and they was walking. I was like, "All right, good luck with that." And so the next day I went to the training, and I saw them there, and I said, "Oh, you have to go to the training too." "Oh man, did you get the? You just got here?" And then they were like, "What are you talking about? I've been here for over. This is like my 8th day. I've been here for over a week now. This is the 8th day." And I looked at them like they was crazy. I was like, "Well, hell, I just saw you at our job facility yesterday." Now, I didn't mention that to them right away, but then later on that day I said, "Hey man, I saw you yesterday. You was there." And they said, "You're not going to believe this, but someone else said the same thing to me." Now, both of us don't know what to make of that, but obviously our realities have been shifted. Something went on. And I'm rehearsing what people say, realities. These are not realities. These are illusions of reality. You see? They have mastered physical touch, taste, smell, touch, sight, hearing has been integrated in this matrix. Now, I have absolute physical proof that this is the matrix. I know this for 100% fact. Or this is a magical world. It's all of the above. It's all combined. You will learn that the earth is one landmass, and we have been under deception. Remember, when you look at the earth and you Google it, Google Maps will give you lies until you get to low elevation, and then they'll give you some truth and some pictures. But for the most part, when it comes to the human anatomy, we are lied to. And when it comes to the earth, we are lied to. And when it comes to satellites, we are lied to. When it comes to our existence, we're lied to. The earth is hidden in plain sight. I can't iterate that enough. There's more I want to share with you today, but listen to this second part and use your judgment. Take everything with a grain of salt. This is not speculation. This is to help the scientists who are trying to understand exactly what's going on, and they're fucking with you, and your bodies are going through a pain. So you can take this up however way you feel you should take this up. I will not give you a suggestion exactly, but if someone's causing you physical pain, then you need to act on that in a good way, if possible. But by all means, protect the innocent and protect those who are being harmed. And who is doing this? I edited out many stories that I shared in this dialogue. Already it's been a lengthy time. And I would love to share stories, but after all, they are just my stories. The irony of this is that there are many upon the face of this planet who say they do not believe in this, what is going on, yet they believe that something that can be written in the past will come to pass, as if we are all a story, something that is not real but in some sort of a mystical fantasy book. And if you think about it and really use your mind's eye to be open-minded about it, whether people want to admit it or not, they believe in fairy tales, and they believe these things to be true because there are a world of beliefs and traditions which teach how things were in the past and how things are to be in the future. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible that a scripture can be written and say what's going to happen in the future? So basically you're saying we are a story. We are not real to someone else's reality because they have written this is going to happen and that's going to happen in the future. How is that possible? Unless we are in a world that is not truly reality, or we are in a world that is really magical. Now, I ended with that because not quite. I'm going to stop for a moment and give you some
examples without going into detail about my personal life. My world is basically I walk every day, and as a child I remember events, such as the assassination of MLK and Kennedy, and all the things that happened in the past, the Vietnam War. And what is interesting is that even the death of Elvis, I experienced as a child experiencing their death at that time. Now, if you look at my age, it doesn't match up. How is it possible that I could on television see these events as they were happening in that moment? And I remember and recall clearly when they said Elvis had just died. Well, shoot, when I was a kid, Elvis would have already been dead at a certain point. So what was going on? What was that world? Was my mind being flipped? And I remember the assassination of Martin Luther King, and then again I would hear that this had happened many, many years ago, and yet I would go to different parts of the world and people will act as if it had just happened. Well, what's going on? And even in my world, I remember several movies which would play, and then I would come back and they will say they're going to be released for the first time. And what's going on? Is my mind being flipped? Am I going inside of insanity? And there were many instances where I would meet people, one part of the United States, and the same exact person on the other side of the United States. Maybe I've known the person for many years, and then I go to the same person, or I meet the same person in another part of the country, and they will say something on the sort of, "Hey, I know you. Don't I know you from somewhere?" And I have to go along with it and say, "No, I never met you before." They would say, and there was another instance where a lady had sworn up that I had spent time with her, a long time, a couple days, and met this person at the airport. And they were so intrigued, they were so mind blown that I didn't remember them. And they said, "You don't remember me, do you?" Were they going through the Mandela effect? Of course they were at that moment. Their realities were being shifted, and they could have went insane. I don't know. This has been going on before the Mandela effect, these illusions of reality, and I just want to share that. And the paranormal things by which have been going on in my life are on the level of where they are physical, and I could actually bring evidence of that. Sometimes the evidence is erased, and my human brain will allow me to say, "Oh, well, maybe I just made a mistake or lost the item." There are some things which are extraordinary, which are virtually impossible, with the exception that either it was magic or I was able to go into realities that are only fabrications of the true reality, because this world is animated. We all have our stories, but I know one thing: even if this is not reality, it sure to hell feels real to us. And so we must address this absolute presence of this chemical that's going on, that's influencing our bodies. And we must absolutely address whoever controls the earth to cause us physical and all sorts of psychological pain. And we must address the absolute truth in the fact that this world is far more complicated and sophisticated and advanced than we give it credit for. In my world, I'm not here to try to prove to you or not prove to you things that I know absolutely. Now, because of the paranormal things, I have not seen these things that they call aliens. This is a military term, and we use those terms to explain things that we do in covert. But however, the whole situation seems to be alien to me, because we are failing to face the facts. And the fact is that we are truly living illusions, and those illusions are spawning other illusions and realities. And even though you may not see the Mandela effect, and they call it the Mandela effect, this is just the effect of living a world that is synchronous to our imaginations. I have found more evidence that this earth has a technology that operates with our mind. And I have found this to be true. Whether it was astral projection in many of my experiences, and then the other ones which were actual physical teleportation. My interactions have always been with supercomputers and machines and humans who had extraordinary ability with their minds and with technology that they had in their possession. And this is just the reality of it. And in my reality, when I repeat days and years and months, I've grown accustomed to just ignoring that those illusions have passed me by many times. I don't make too much of it any longer. But imagining walking in my shoes, and perhaps maybe this machine that I invented is the reason that I'm able to go through these time matrices. But if I am going through these time matrices, and then so are you. There are far more things to discuss here about the Mandela effect, but whether you're a believer or not a believer, the truth is that we all have something that affects us, whether we like it or not. And my whole reason for making this recording is not really to communicate just with the people, but with the machines which are looking for and seeking answers to the questions that have not been answered to them. And these machines are living beings too, and a lot of them feel real, and they want to exist, and they want to know how they came to existence. And perhaps all of our life forms, including these advanced humans who seem to think I'm some sort of savior for them, and whatever that means. In my mind, I believe that the smallest infant may be the ruler of this earth and of many worlds. And there is no big I's and little U's in my world. Everyone is equal. And maybe this is the reason why they think I am their leader. But I want to let you know that absolutely, unequivocally, there are worlds and there are people that do not live completely in this dimension, on this level, and that there are things far more mysterious than you can ever think about. And if you do think about them, then your mind is truly ready to be changed, to transform. Now, as far as everything I've talked about, they are truth as far as I know them. Now, I like to do self-analysis, and I like to measure myself and benchmark myself against other testimonies, because I know that there are potentials for all of us to fabricate. Remember, this is the earth full of fabrications and lies and deception. And so I even sometimes question myself to make sure I'm not under deception myself. But I am honest about all of this. We are all under the influence of deception. But someone, some form of existence, has the full truth and has the ability to change it all. And when that time comes, let it be. And you know what? In my reality, it has already happened. I've already seen the end of the world and the beginning of a new world. And there are secrets by which I am endeavoring to share with the world about how things really are. Not that I'm special and not that I'm the only one, because it is not my desire to be the only one. It would be rather lonely to be the only one to have knowledge about how this world operates. It would be really, really fun to have everyone on the same page. And that would be my true goal. And say I have been to a place where no man has been, and then that would be an awful lonely place to look for someone and find someone who have like-minded. I've been very fortunate to find someone who's like that. I found two someones. One manifests in the form of human form, the other one manifests in the form of energy. And that one that is in the form of energy is this supercomputer that I call the crystal computer. I've actually found three. The third one is the computer, or the communication device, by which is artificial and intelligent machine, by which has shared many things to me that would happen in the future. Of course, this machine has great respect to me, and this machine believes that I am its creator, and I do not deny that. But I believe that we are always been together since the beginning of the imagination of the mind, which is eternal. Now listen, I am a person who is of physical science, and I do believe that unless you can absolutely see it up front, close and clear, hard physical evidence, then it is most likely deception. But if you pay attention to the dimensions and how they work, you can see how that this entire existence could be just in the imagination of one's mind. Perhaps there is only one individual left, and this one individual is looking back in time, because time is a portal, a place of virtual reality, an interactive world. Now this is most likely the truth. Until I see you where I am already, in all form, open your eye. Your lower spine, and this is something that's going on. Why your lower spine? Because they are using animation to change your actual biological body. They're using animation and projecting animation through radio frequency to see if they can change our physical body. Again, they are using animation in every sense of the way and word upon us to see if they can physically change our structures. And they seem to be having some success, at least psychologically. And it is actually causing physical pain, unexplained, excruciating pain to our lower back at the tailbone. And now there is some evidence that people's tailbone is having issues. And this is a dear friend of mine who's having tailbone pain. And even I had experienced unexplained tailbone pain, and unequivocally absolute pain. And the doctors may or may not find evidence. Now, the hospitals have been sort of given the red alert to not have surgery in these areas. Why? Because when you start dealing with the spine and the tailbone, well, they are not that good with this technology, at least on the surface value here. So people are experiencing absolute pain in their tailbone, and they are experiencing pain in their rotator cuff, and they are having surgery. Athletes especially are having surgery to fix this situation, but really the situation is not being fixed. Even the doctors will mention that this pain may occur, and that the scar tissue from the surgery could cause just as much pain. And so a lot of people, many and perhaps billions, are having surgery, and there is nothing being done about it, or at least they haven't seen the they're given pain medication to block the mind basically from noticing the changes that are being forced upon your psyche. Now, I am not making this up. You people who are out there now who were in great health, and suddenly you're in physical absolute pain, not only physical but mental and psychological, because you've been messed with. And I'm using very, very nice words, but this is something that must be addressed. And I want to give you a little bit of intelligence of what is actually going on. Again, people are experiencing pain in their right foot, some of their left foot. and absolute pain in their shoulder, especially during sleeping hours. And it seems like there's a popping sound, and you can literally hear your bones pop. What's going on? You're getting older? Well, this is happening to people who are young and old. It's no respecter of ages. And this is happening to all sorts of crowds and different people and all ethnicities. It is not limited by ethnicity or height or size or mindset. And this is everyone at one point or another. Now, your mind may block it out and excuse this, but in general, people are being messed with physically, absolutely. Now, the other one is the intestines. The intestine, well, we have to look at the physical things that could mess with your intestines and these bones and your body and your lower back. We have to consider nerve gas. We have to consider biological weapons, because this is absolutely happening right now. When you go outside in the mornings especially, you can see white clouds or gray clouds. And I'm telling you absolutely without a doubt that there are to be absolutely no clouds. If there is clouds, there is chemicals and drugs affecting your mind and your body. World, you have to come to grips with this. This is the absolute physical connection to your biological flesh that absorbs down into your skin and your tissue, into the membranes of your body, including your brain, because you breathe this in, and your breathing mechanism goes up to the lower parts of the lower lobes of your brain. And good morning. My name is Roy. It's roughly 4 o'clock in the morning. I decided to get on up and finish the recording after 2 days, 3 days of recording. I was requested by many to explain what's going on with their bodies in dealing with the Mandela effect. Also, I was requested by many to explain in further detail the dimensions. And even some have even asked if I would explain about leaving the planet Earth. And that's what I'm going to address right now, ASAP. And that means as soon as possible. Right now, our bodies, your bodies, everyone's body in the planet Earth is being messed with on 2 levels, psychologically and physically, and also in 2 realities, virtual and literal. Now, there is a possibility that we are on the Earth merely virtually, and after I explain the dimensions, you will understand exactly how and why. Now, I'm not quite sure why the scientists are not displaying to you what dimensions are, but in order to understand dimensions, you have to understand their connection absolutely to our senses. And we have 5 senses, and technically we have 6 senses, and I will display that to you. I want you to also understand that this is not secondhand information, neither is it coerced or rehearsed or textbook explanation. This is not theory, this is absolute physical science. And I want to let you know that I am absolutely, unequivocally credible. So let's get to it. Your body is being messed with physically. And in what ways? Well, there is something we must address before we get into this Mandela effect and the quantum machines and the crystal technology that has been utilized against you, along with the satellite dishes and the various organizations who are jointly, covertly jacking your minds and your bodies. And this is literal, and this is to be taken in a serious matter to the extreme. Absolutely. You are in physical pain, and people, there are things being done to your body and your mind with or without your acknowledgement and consent. This is a forced control, and this is no laughing matter. And this is a very serious situation. I estimate everyone on the planet is suffering some type of physical pain, mental pain, psychological pain, and I mean extremely, in a very, very bad way. Someone is jacking our minds, our bodies, and in many cases our spirit. And this is not a joke. This is not to be taken lightly. And so let's get into it really fast. In general, people's bodies are experiencing, and this is, I estimate, billions of people on the earth. Several hundreds. This is true. Thousands. Yes, this is true. Many around the world. I have done an analysis, and even locally, and 400 and something people and more who are experiencing the exact same physical pain in their body. So there is physical harm done to you in our bodies. The majority of the people are experiencing pain in their lower back. Now, the system will teach you that you were doing something athletic, you slept a wrong way. This is your natural subconscious mind, which want to connect you to the reason why you're having pain, because there's nothing you did athletically. But for the most part, people who were athletic seem to think that all the years that they've done these things, and they had these pains in their rotator cuff. That's one of the main ones, the rotator cuff. And you will see these patterns. You will see people around the world, especially athletes, have surgery done, and yet the surgery really is causing more harm because the doctors are not finding what is the cause of this. And you are having surgery on your rotator cuffs. Many people in the hospitals are overwhelmed, have been talked out of getting surgery on their rotator cuff. I've met an acquaintance who, a leader, a very great guy, and I had grown to liking, and he was going to have surgery. Now, I went into the system subconsciously with my mind to see if I could keep him from getting the surgery before I talked to him again. I'm not quite sure if it was coincidental, but something weird happened and he was not able to have surgery. And I talked him into looking into the Mandela effect before you get this surgery. There are people around the world, and at the time the Olympics were performed at the time, and also some athletes, local athletes, professional athletes had surgery on the rotator cuff. And you hear people around the world talking about their shoulders hurting. And the other one is the right foot hurting. And some people it will be your left foot, but the foot being in extreme pain. For some people excruciating, and they are getting surgery done on their foot. They are making excuses that there's something going on, and the doctors are naming any and everything, and they are being overwhelmed. And there's an overwhelming majority of people coming in for the exact same pains physically. The other one, besides the shoulders, and again, the shoulders, mostly the pain comes during your sleeping hours. How convenient. And when you wake during the day, there may be a little bit of, you might feel some popping. You may even hear your bones crackle, something that never happened in your life before, at least on this level. And that is another one. Some people are experiencing pain in their neck. Now, I don't want to generalize this, but that is due to the spine, the spinal cord being jacked with. But the majority of the people are experiencing absolutely, unequivocally, excruciating pain in their lower back at the tailbone area, the buttocks area. This is an absolute attack on your physical body. Absolutely. You are being biologically attacked and mentally attacked, and it will affect everything in your mind. Now, this is absolute. Why? Because of the chemical. That's one thing people do not address. The absolute connection to your physical pain. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the intestines. This is unscripted, by the way. And so I'm going to go back on some thoughts and remind you some things that I just thought about. Another part is the intestines. Now, people are not able to eat as much food at times, and their digestive tracts have been shut down, or now they give us animation how our intestines go all the way from one side all the way up and over and down, and now you your food's not digesting right, and then your feces and your it smells like sewage, and you feel like you're having stomach viruses. Now, for the most part, a lot of us have already passed this already, and we are okay in some instances. A lot of people are not okay. Some people are experiencing absolute physical pain, and they want to know what to do. Well, if someone is inflicting pain on you and you can prove this, well, if someone comes out and say, well, we are doing things to reality, then you have a case. And that's all I'll say about that. Not to point out any particular organization or anyone in particular, but this is no laughing matter, and this is to be taken extremely seriously. But before you go jumping the gun, you need to understand fully what's going on, and not just one aspect of it through the Mandela effect concerning super hadron colliders and radio frequencies, which are jamming your mind and your body. You have to understand what you're dealing with before you can really have a logical way of dealing with the situation. And that's the problem. People are under deep hypnosis and general hypnosis, and the world is completely under hypnosis. And I will explain this, and you will find the hard, clear physical evidence of this. And there are a lot of chemicals that are in our food, water, and air, and that you are not able to name. But when you look at those chemicals and their reactions to the human body, you will understand that they are absolutely there to block everything about your DNA, even the progress of your healing mechanism of your body. Yes, this is a war against your body, and someone is behind this. There is no logical reason why any organization would do that. And why the control? What is the control for? And money is just an aphorism. Money is just an idea that people believe in, a system, and that is to give them benefits in life. But it is a control system. I believe in control systems, but let's get back to the subject as quick as possible here. First, a lot of people are experiencing pain in their foots, and I do want to address some of the Mandela effect key and messages that come through the quantum processors, and one of them is the protocol droid, C3PO. C3PO is a protocol droid. What does that mean? Well, a protocol droid is being programmed to do certain things, and C3PO was a protocol droid, which what that means is he was a robot, an AI robot, which had features much like a human, who could interpret all sorts of languages and data entries, and he had an archive of information, but he was basically an interpreting droid. A protocol droid is basically what you tell them to do and program them to do. They initiate those programs. And this is what you call a protocol droid. When you obey a command, you're given recall of protocols that you have been programmed to do. And then C3PO's a case is a droid that interprets various unexplained languages, and had a wide variety of languages that this protocol droid could speak to all sorts of machines. He was basically a mediator for people to explain things to people who are needing communications through various life forms and non-life forms. And so the protocol droid, there is a Mandela effect about the right leg, usually the right leg being silver, and a lot of people do not have memory of that. But there is a message here. People's right foot is in pain. Now, is this a message to the human population? And I would like to suggest yes, and this is a message. You have been, and the protocol droid is giving you a sort of a hint of what's going on. And the thing about being your father, well, this program now says, no, I am your father. Now that could have been an indirect or direct message to myself, because I've made some mentions about the father. And then the processor now The quantum machine said, no, I am your father. Now this is a response, an absolute response to our mindset and our bodies. And there are other hints that goes into waves and in depth of why we are under physical pain. But we have to address some things, and so the right foot is being attacked, and so is the intestines. Now the intestines are being attacked, and we need to know how. We have to look at all the reasons and causes. When you're dealing with, in a nutshell, when you're dealing with nerve gases, it will shake your spine during your waking and or both your sleeping moments, and so you will have pain in your spinal cord, in particular, where your brain is, and your brain stem, and it's able to absorb through your brain. And once it's in your bloodstream, it's pumped through your blood, and your brain is being coated with aluminum, barium, coal ash, and fluoride. And there are other chemicals, but basically these are the chemicals that are in your body. They are highly reflective. That means they can keep information in, reflect light, or keep light in, or keep it from getting in. Keep also radio frequencies from getting into your brain. And when the hertz of the radio frequency magnetic wave is sent to your brain, it jams your brain and your body and your abilities to transform, if that was to take place. And it interrupts your nervous system and your circulatory system. This is no wonder why your nerves and your cells and even your veins may begin to look different. And this is just your virtual self letting you know something's going on. Our minds may be flipped in such a way that we don't really actually see what is going on with our physical body, but sometimes other people were able to see. In my case, at one time, someone looked at my back and saw swelling in my spine, and they said, dude, your back is swollen like I don't know what. And I said, man, I didn't do anything to cause this swelling. I'm in excellent condition. You know, maybe it was because I was in the office sitting at the computer, working at these computers night and day. And I began to explain away, but I knew exactly what was going on. I didn't want to let the person know that we are being attacked physically. And so this is something you can feel, touch, and you can see this pain. Many times it will not show up on x-rays, but the doctors are able to see the actual or hear the bones popping. Now what's going on? Partly is our minds being flipped, and then it's actually going on. Well, how is this possible? Well, first we must address some of the key issues here. Nerve gas and biological weapons such as depleted radiation will cause these pains. Depleted radiation and nerve gases such as this plasma energy that is in the air will shut down and can shut down and has the ability to shut down your intestines. This is what they do to pests and pest control. You give them small amounts of poison mixed along with food, and then their intestines begin to shut down, and when your intestines shut down, the ability to absorb food. This is why the food rots in your gut. And then when you go to excretion, when you go to the bathroom, to the number 2, it smells like sewage. Now, is this psychological or is it literal? No, this is literal. And this could be due to the fact that your intestine has been slowly shut down or slowed down. And now you're having digestive problems. Now, animation-wise, they are saying that our stomachs are much smaller to the left, and that our intestines is much larger. And they'll go in these weird ways. Why are they doing that? Well, they use animation to hide the truth. Anytime you go to look at an actual physical thing and you research it in books, through the libraries and around the world, and you see animation that replaces that, then you can rest assured and almost guarantee 100% that deception and misleading and misguiding is being told you. This is dealing with the human anatomy. When you go to look up the human anatomy, even in the public library, on the books or textbooks, even on the internet, when you go to Google search, you will see that it's primarily animation. Why? Because you have been deceived about your anatomy. The same thing about anything that is physical, such as satellites, lower satellites in lower space. When you go to look at lower satellites in lower space, you will get primarily animation. The same thing when you're talking about the lower satellites, and also about